Good Wrestling Day. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Top of Wrestling podcast. It's me, Professor Youngblood. We are ready for episode 13. I can't believe it's already 13, and which is funny enough is this Friday is actually Friday the 13th. Most people find it an unlucky number. I find it to be lucky. Also a fan of all the Friday the 13th movies. But today, ready to go with an awesome top topic. We're going to be talking about top debuts and returns. We appreciate everybody who has been following and downloading all of these episodes, whether it's through YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I know we also have Spotify, Podbean, iTunes. God, there's so many more. ODM is the man at that. And, speaking of, I like to say let's give him a nice round of applause. The man who is the hardest working man in podcast land. No, not talking about Conrad Thompson. We are talking about the man that we all know by the three letters. That is ODM.
They say a lot of men are created equal. But you look at me, and you look at the professor, and you can see that statement is not true. See, normally, if you go one-on-one with another wrestler, you got a 50-50 chance of winning. But I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal. So you got a 25% chance at best to beat me. And then you add David Arquette to the mix, your chances of winning drastically go down. See, the three-way is sacrifice. You got a 33/3 chance of winning. But I got a 66 2/3 chance of winning, because David Arquette knows he can't beat me, and he's not even going to try. So, Professor, you take your 33 1/3 chance minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 1/3 chance of winning at sacrifice. But then you take my 75% chance of winning if we was to go one-on-one, and then add 66 2/3%, I got 141 2/3 chance of winning. Senor Professor, the numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you at sacrifice. I just spit all over my monitor right now.
Big Papa Pump. Scott Steiner. Man, that was awesome. I absolutely love that entire math equation.
It actually
sold
works
on
out.
A shirt. It really does.
It works out. If they've had mathematicians do it in the math, he's actually a really smart guy.
I believe it was Petey Williams, who was standing right next to him in that promo. I'm like, how is he not
his
losing it right now? That's really when I was into TNA, too. I was really loving watching them. They were on Spike. Scott Steiner, the whole Main Event Mafia, all those guys. I can only assume the main reason that you opened up with one of the Steiner brothers today, as we actually just heard just a couple of days ago, Scott Steiner did get rushed to the hospital after some Impact tapings. Haven't heard much back on it yet. Not sure if you have, but I know that we both do wish him a speedy recovery. Have you heard much about what the cause was? I know he collapsed, but anything other than that?
Yeah, I didn't see anything about a cause at this point. It's more of his heart. It looks like his heart stopped. They had to hit him with the AED, the defibrillator. But Sandman was actually at the hospital. He tweeted something about, he's doing better now and he's with it. The initial reports that it was not good, and I guess that was true at the time. The actual situation isn't good, but it looks like he's out of the clear for now, I guess you could say at best. Again, I don't have any official word right now, but, he's alive. So That's a start. But no, actually, I planned this before that news came out, which is the weird thing. And I was waffling on, oh, man, should I do that today or should I just wait another time?
Even better. Even better. More of a tribute to the man. I like that. I actually just not too long ago watched a 30-minute classic, or was it a 20 or 30-minute classic? Bret and Owen Hart taking on the Steiner brothers. It was one of those Coliseum video classics that they had hidden. Oh, man, such a great match to watch, because it was one of the only times that the Harts were really on the same page before Owen did turn on Bret.
But the work rate, of both of those teams, those are two really technical teams that can get down and have a nice, good old chain wrestling, just a real tight wrestling match. So
when I was younger, I didn't understand. I mean, I was in Pee Wee wrestling and stuff, but I didn't understand why Rick always wore the headgear.
Yeah.
I was like, but then when you start to really watch and you get older and you see all the guys that have cauliflower ear, you're like, he's a smart guy. I mean, he's one of the only guys that probably has. I don't know. I haven't really taken a look at his ears, but no. Anyway, man, we got some great stuff on deck today. Man, I guess let's start with it right away. You know, we are coming fresh off of the heels of Elimination Chamber. Was just this past Sunday night. I don't know about you, ODM. I know that we personally, we held off any texting. We always save it for the show because we find ourselves going, oh, maybe we already said it. Maybe we didn't. So we saved it for the show. I'm going to go on record and say right now, before we jump into news with ODM, I'm going to say that next to WrestleMania 36, whatever that may produce, because it's always just a good show, I think this will be the best pay-per-view that WWE has the entire year. Just card-wise, match-wise, bout-wise. I mean, I'm talking, we'll dive into it, but I would say that's probably the best you're going to see all year. Please, ODM, with the news.
All right. Well, we could have covered this in Dynamite, but I found it interesting. I wanted to mention it. Sean Spears.
Oh, no. We're going to back up. No. Let's start with Elimination Chamber. I already began with it.
Wow.
It's what we call a segue in the news industry here.
A backwards segue, but okay, I'll take it. Elimination Chamber.
It is, but I will say one thing.
Yes.
2.
Okay.
The number is at 2. And if you know what I mean, the number is at 2. 2 David Arquettes. Oh, that would be 3.
Oh, you're so cheap. That shouldn't count. If your future rule going forward.
David Arquette won the world title. David Arquette won the world title. He can't believe it. David Arquette won the world title.
Okay, stop with the sound effects. Jesus Christ.
How else could I have mentioned that you already had it twice in there? I thought it was amazing. You put it in the same promo twice.
The rule should be if you're going to mention the David Arquette count, that mention does not count.
Okay. So it has to be natural David Arquette.
Oh, you can shoehorn it in there if you want, just not, you can't use it when
using the
as
count.
a descriptor.
Okay, fair enough. Well, this week we definitely hit our quota pretty early, only about 5 minutes into the show. Hey, we love David Arquette. He was married to the chick on Friends.
Does.
Well, so hey, let's briefly just run through Elimination Chamber. I know that you weren't ready for that. I'll give you that, ODM, but I'm actually excited to talk about it because, as you all know, we always say we record on Mondays before you guys can hear this on Wednesday. So this is even being done just before Raw. If we did this after Raw, it would be, probably we'll be doing this till about 2 or 3 a.m. for ODM, and then he'd have to get up by, 4 for work?
Stay up, basically, at that point.
Just basically stay up at that point.
Yeah.
So we do have to record before Raw, so there are a couple things we know that are probably going to be happening tonight, and we'll talk about that. But let's talk about what happened this past Sunday and what I do think was probably the best pay-per-view you're going to see out of WWE in 2020.
And that's not necessarily a good thing. That's not necessarily.
No, it's not. That's my point. Did you think I meant that in a positive way?
No, I just wanted to make it clear. Some people might not know.
Oh, no, I lay the sarcasm on pretty thick. If you're here by episode 13, you already know. Well, I'll tell you right now, the opening contest was in the pre-show. I didn't even care about. Viking Raiders beat Hawkins and Ryder.
It was weird. It was like, why? Why did we have this? And just, we don't need another Viking Raiders.
Well, I think they're probably going to be going for the Raw tag team titles.
Yeah, but they had them on them before, and they just, Rollins and Murphy, here you go.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that in a moment. So, Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak have an ass-kicking contest to open the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view officially. Welts, scars, bruises, scrapes, and a nearly broken neck from Daniel Bryan.
Holy shit.
I was like, dude, you're not supposed to be doing this stuff. Didn't you tell WWE, hey, I'll be safe, don't you worry? But he does check with the doctors after every one of his matches.
You'd have to after that. Dude, if that happened to you or I, we'd be dead.
Oh, absolutely. Dead. Dude, I just hit my head a little bit ago, and I really thought I was almost unconscious from it. I don't even know how you do it from that height. And I don't know, was he supposed to fully go all the way around?
It looked like he turned late or something. When you watch it close up, the thing is, he did tuck his head in.
Yeah.
Right? If he didn't, he'd be dead.
I guess.
Or paralyzed. Think about if he didn't tuck his head in like that. That was the only thing that's, I guess you could say, saved him.
There was a couple of times the refs jumped right on certain things last night.
Yeah.
One of them was that. Another one was Natalya it looked like she got hurt.
I know,
she was
right?
Laying on the ground and kicking her leg, and the ref came running right over.
If not, she sold it well. Even her reaction to it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a moment. But Daniel Bryan wins by a KO submission, we're going to call it, as he's passed out. Gulak does not tap. Where do you think it goes from here? You and I talked today. You said it could only get better from here between the both of them for an extended feud. I believe that's what you said in a text. But I said I have a theory. I'm looking to hear yours first.
All right. Well, the match was fantastic. It was you know what? As much of a technical match it was a strong style match too. Bryan was kicking Drew Gulak. There was one point, and Gulak played it well, especially for a heel. He was kicking at dude like right in between the nose and right underneath the eye, like right above the cheekbone. And he had a welt on his face.
Yeah, like 4 minutes into the contest.
Exactly. It was a fantastic match. They've been teasing it for a while, and it seems like they're trying to push Drew Gulak, and I hope they do. The thing is, we harp on it all the time, the storytelling. The storytelling is, here's a guy that a lot of people don't know. And guess what? He's got an answer for everything. And Daniel Bryan has to figure out, okay, I got to take it to the next level. Great storytelling. Gulak, it was a KO submission. He passed out. He did not submit. At the end of the match, Daniel Bryan was, applauding him, trying to get the crowd behind him, and Gulak was pissed. You could tell he was pissed. Because you know what? He didn't lose. So I think that's going to give us a long feud. Whether it makes it to Mania or not, who knows? I'd be okay with that because I think these two work well together. Just please, no German suplexes, no belly-to-belly, overhead belly-bellies to Daniel Bryan.
I'd rather him just get into an arm wrestling contest at this point. Let me ask you, how many people do you think before this pay-per-view, and we're talking your occasional fan, how many people do you really think knew Drew?
5%.
Okay. Daniel Bryan, in his interview, talked about how he was interested in wrestling Drew for the longest time. When he saw him, when he was a commentator for the original Cruiserweight Classic that they had, where they crowned a Cruiserweight champion, he was in that tournament, and he said, man, I really wish I could wrestle this guy. And that's when Daniel Bryan was in his retirement years.
Right.
And, fast forward to here we are. And when I say those casual guys, I got to be honest with you, I can't keep up with watching all of these hours, of television.
Sure.
So, I kind of breeze through with what's going on with SmackDown sometimes. With this feud, I was extremely into it, that he did know everything that Bryan was going to do. He had a counter for it. It made for a great storyline. Someone that he said he idolized Bryan, but he paid attention to all of his work, and he's been helping people like Heath Slater and other guys be better against Daniel Bryan. I think where I personally think this match is taking us to now, for the fact that he did submit, I want to bring you back to about 2010. The original NXT was, well, not the original NXT, but one of the originals was when you had the guys were mentoring, WWE wrestlers were mentoring some of these NXT guys. Mentor Miz was with Daniel Bryan. And everybody knows how long that feud has been going on for the longest time. Now, we do know that just with Elimination Chamber, Miz and Morrison retained their tag team titles. I'm not saying it's a if you can't beat them, join them type of scenario. Like, oh, we are just two good guys together that seem alike. Let's tag with each other. Drew is testing Daniel Bryan. And if you saw the after interview where Daniel Bryan did make a little quick mention about blood and guts, thank you, Daniel Bryan, for that nice little plug towards AEW, which we will get to in our news. But I think it's more of a Daniel Bryan could say, hey, yeah, maybe you do know all my moves, but maybe I have some things I could still pass on to you. And I think that you and I should go after Miz and Morrison together as a tag team. The storyline's built especially against the Miz, showing that it's not only mentoring but working together as opposed to shitting on the person the way the Miz did. I feel like you could really build just right off of that storyline right there. The only other option, that was my main theory. The only other option is a really good-ass barn burner match at WrestleMania. What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's two things. One, after seeing Gulak on Sunday, and it's probably the longest, most invested match I've seen him in. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to call it a gimmick because I don't want to make it sound something like that. His thing should be stealing others' finishers. Like when he beats people, it should be using he's that guy. That's like his gimmick, but they should really enhance that. But like when I beat you, I'm going to use your finisher. It's just because it shows that he scouts him. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great.
And I agree how about that? For the fact that his neck was after he did that one move, then they go and do that reverse suplex off the top rope. I was like, stop it! He can't take anymore.
He's already dead.
I'm sorry, I couldn't forget that. All right, so yeah, you're number two.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. That would get me invested. He's the fucking finisher stealer, right?
Right.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on the tag team idea. It's not something I thought of, but it's fantastic. The problem with it is, as much potential is there and how much I would love to see it, the way their WWE's main roster tag teams are booked, really, what is it? The New Days and the Usos. Yeah, it's going to be a great match, but we've seen it a bunch because there's really no other. You have no tag division. You do
exactly the reason you can
utilize
do this. What did we get last year at WrestleMania for tag championships? You know what I mean? We got one was a fatal 4-way that had Aleister Black and Ricochet and all. You know what I mean? And it was basically it's nothing but the same thing. Usos, all the same guys. I would absolutely like to see something new, something fresh, something different. If you're not going to take the time to really invest into tag team wrestling, then make it a storyline for those titles. Because next week, ladies and gentlemen, here's a little spoiler. Next week is we are going to be talking about missed opportunities. And I promise you, if it's not in the top list, it'll at least be in the honorable mentions. Tag team wrestling has got to be somewhere in there. So I say if you're not going to actually work with tag team wrestling as people want to see for SmackDown, go that role, go the storyline role. We'll talk about the Raw tag team titles when we get there as well. But so of course, let me ask you, what did you think about the tag team titles Elimination Chamber match?
It was okay. It was funny because we already knew that Dolph and Rude were going to come in last.
Right.
Because they won the match on SmackDown. So it was really funny because it started off Usos and New Day. Oh, God, slurring. I haven't had enough beer, that's why. Usos and New Day. And it was a smart move because we know what these guys can do together. We know they can get it started quick and pull you in. And they sure as shit did that. So it came to the next one, and my younger son is sitting there, and I blew his mind. For once, I was actually a smart mark. Mm-hmm. So, it's going around randomly like it's going to pick. I'm like, it's the Lucha Bros. Because it makes sense. Because you've already got the New Day and the Usos who work well. Put the Lucha House Party in there. Boom. Now you just turned it up even more. So, of course, that's what happened. So then that left only 2 teams, and I'm like, all right, well, they're not going to bring Heavy Machinery out next. It'll be Miz and Morrison. And I did it. And he looks at me, he's, Dad, how do you know this? I'm like, it's just because they're actually doing sensible booking. Actually, that's an overstep because
let's call it more predictable.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So, but then it just got to a point where it was contrived. They did the whole Otis and Ziggler thing, which, listen, I'm still on board with. I really am. I just feel like it's getting a little too much. But Otis going through the plexiglass, that was
a cool moment.
I loved it. I popped. But it just got contrived at the end, and it was really cool, man. I was really hoping the Usos were going to take it. And Miz and Morrison kept it, which is good. They just won it. Let them keep it to at least till Mania.
I didn't think they were losing it for the fact that they did just win it. I said if they did that, that's really stupid.
Sure.
2 points I want to talk about this match. Okay, there was a lot of spot fest parts. We knew that were going to happen with the Luchas. I did like the thing off of the top of the cage. I did like Otis going through the plexiglass. I will say a couple of things that I was a fan of mainly was both done by Miz and Morrison. The first pin attempt that was Starship Pain while doing the figure 4. I was like, end it there. Cool. I'm all right with it. And then it got kicked out, and I go, oh, you wasted a really cool ending, man.
Yeah.
But then when they did the double pin together, I go, okay, even better. I like that. That was really cool. One using the ropes, one fully had the legs over the guy's head. It was awesome. So kudos to the creativity of ending that match. I thought it was exciting. Again, the reason I'm not trying to just overly mark out or be overly positive about this stuff, but again, I'm trying to find the positive where I can when it comes to these WWE shows. I think, like you said, it was a good match. I'm not going to say it was the greatest Elimination Chamber match. I think it was probably tied when it comes to the tag team ones. I mean, the other ones that we've had were kind of the same kind of mixture, but this one I think was a little more exciting because of who it came down to. But now that I think Miz and Morrison went on together, as soon as that happened, that's when the wheels started turning for me about Bryan and Gulak. So we'll see where that goes. Now, Andrade retains his U.S. championship over Humberto
Carrillo.
I always. So, with that, I'm going to tie into another part. We're going to move on here. Aleister Black upsets AJ Styles. We're going to call it an upset, of course, because just with the stature of who you're facing. With the assistance in this no disqualification match, when the Undertaker, the gong hits, shows up, both the Good Brothers are on the ground in chokeholds on their knees. And just as AJ Styles goes to hit the flying forearm or the phenomenal forearm, Taker turns around, catches him, and gives him a 3 out of 10 choke slam. This is obviously signaling towards WrestleMania. Now, this is one of the things that we said. I think by tonight on Monday Night Raw, they're going to be announcing this match. All signs are pointing to it. I think they're also going to be pointing towards Randy Orton and Edge. Oh my God, I hated Natalia's promo backstage about, she almost sounded like she was crying what she did to Beth.
She's a lost cause. She really should only be there to put others over now, I think.
Well, that's really funny you say that because I'll get to her. I can't wait to talk about the Elimination Chamber match for the women. But so where does Aleister Black go from here? Here's my question, is that Elimination Chamber had some really cool stuff, but Daniel Bryan, is going to be on that WrestleMania card. There's no way they're not going to put him on the WrestleMania card. They're not going to waste him in a Battle Royal, but I see a Drew being wasted in something like that because that's what they do. Let's let's rewind a couple years back. Luke Harper had an amazing match against Randy Orton right before Orton took the title from Wyatt at WrestleMania 33. Where was Harper? The fucking Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I was like, are you kidding me? He had an amazing... They stole the show that night. I digress. that being said, where do you put Aleister Black? The reason I combine these two, wouldn't it be a great match, just one-on-one? I don't need to see multi-men matches for titles because it's just because you have to get guys on the card.
Right.
With the way strengths are being built, I really think a great way to go would be Aleister Black challenging for the U.S. title against Andrade. Would you be in?
Absolutely. My history is fuzzy math here, but if I'm not mistaken, see, this is where I think I got fuzzy math. No, didn't Aleister Black beat Andrade for the NXT Championship?
He did.
There you go. All right. See,
Exactly.
I was right. Yeah. So we've seen them work before, and they're both fantastic. I love.
But that's all he did. I believe all he did was beat him for the championship, and Andrade went up after that.
I believe so.
So we didn't even get
Nope.
a return match or many return matches or anything unless it was on NXT TV. But those guys can both can work really, really great matches.
It's going to be an NXT match.
Yeah.
On WWE.
Well, and come on, you're already
Main
doing
roster.
a NXT women's title match with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
There's no signs of anything else being put on WrestleMania right now. So let's put a little shining on the guys that you did bring up. Aleister got brought up last year before WrestleMania, and I hated it. I hated both him and Ricochet doing that and TakeOver.
Right.
I was like, well, what was the point? They didn't need to be in there. And I'm not sure why they actually got brought in, still to this date, unless, it was like they got thrown a bone. They're like, hey, you guys are really hard workers. We want to bring you up. I'm not sure why they chose to bring them up last year so early, because then both of them did absolutely jack shit ever since.
And
Ricochet,
Vince has given up on Ricochet.
exactly.
No,
Now,
like,
Aleister's
literally,
getting
he's-
it. Oh, yeah.
he's done.
We've seen it. We've seen it on TV, and we've heard about it in all the dirt sheets. But we're also seeing that, Aleister, though, is going the opposite. We're starting to get a decent build. I say, put the title on him. I say, or maybe not necessarily put the title on him, but maybe have him and Andrade go for a great match at Mania, because here is one extra big reason why. He's fucking married to Selena Vega.
Oh, yeah.
Boom!
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
And you don't even have to actually do real life with that.
No,
They
leave
could-
it as is.
Leave it as is, but also throw tiny little hints in there or whatever like that if you need to, or kind of little jabs that only the real smart marks are really going to catch, go right over the kids' heads. But I think it's perfectly built right there. I would like to see both of them in a match at WrestleMania. Problem is, I see something like that being put on the pre-show.
Yeah. Listen, if it's on the pre-show, I'm definitely watching.
Well, no, totally. I'm there with it, and
But you're right. It's a lack
like,
of respect. It should be the mid-card. It should be
Yeah,
mid-
absolutely.
you know?
Well, last year Joe did have a match with Mysterio. Yeah, it was less than a minute long, but they did have the U.S. title match and the
Right.
IC title match on the main card, so I'll give him that. One tag title match was on the pre-show. That was it. That was the Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins winning the tag titles. And him losing finally beating his streak. But I'm okay with. I'd be okay with seeing that. Street Profits retained over Rollins and Murphy with the help of some popcorn by Kevin Owens. Did I write that right? Yep, that's right. That says
You
popcorn.
did. You
Okay.
did.
Jesus. I would have much rather seen Rollins and Murphy take the titles back, because I don't mean any disrespect about this, but who the fuck are the Street Profits? You know what I mean? I mean, they're not interesting to me to be on WrestleMania right now. I think we're gearing towards Rollins and Owens in probably some form of like a no holds barred type fight, but I've seen it. We've seen it. We've seen it a couple of times. They had a Hell in a Cell match. I mean, it's not the first time these guys would have locked up. I would have been okay with Owens bringing a mystery partner or something like that. Hey, maybe he's going to choose Nicholas out of the crowd again. But we could have did anything other than leaving them on the Street Profits. I'm not a fan of them even putting the titles on them at all. What's your take on Street Profits? or Private Party 2.0 or one or the other. They're all the same.
In the middle somewhere.
It's just the same exact. I feel like when I'm watching it, two shticks are the exact same to me. I feel like Bianca Belair and Big Swole are kind of just somewhat of the same shtick, and then same with Street Profits and Private Party. And I'm not, and that's going to sound really fucked up as how I'm saying it, but I mean the exact characters.
No, it's the same
exact gimmick. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes, thank you.
And style of wrestling. But
Exactly.
Here's the difference. And Cornette had talked about this the other day on his podcast.
Motherfucker.
And he hit it dead on. Because they were talking about the comparison between Private Party and the Street Profits. And it is the same gimmick. I like Private Party's gimmick better, the way they do the non-wrestling part. Private Party are great wrestlers. I love their finisher, Gin and Juice.
But the screaming's got to go.
They're okay. No, I'm talking about Private Party, not Street Profits.
Wait, which one does the high-pitched screaming? I thought one of the guys in Private Party does really high-pitched screaming.
Oh, does he? I'm not aware of that. But anyway, they're not in-ring gimmick is really good. They're still a little green, like, you know, they're a little like, all right. Street Profits they have been taught very well. They've been at the Performance Center. They've been given a formal education in wrestling. This is how you do it. Angelo Dawkins is a great worker. He is really good.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. He's earned this. I am a big fan of him making this, actually.
But you can see the difference, right? And they are similar. Private Party is a little more raw, which is cool. A little more uncensored, not hampered down by a script, which definitely hurts the Street Profits. But the Street Profits get more of a formal education, right? So it's a little bit different. It's the same thing with Bianca Belair and Big Swole. Big Swole, her last matches that I've seen, her last two, she could use the Performance Center.
Agreed.
Bianca Belair is on top of her shit.
I 100% agree. I'm a very, very big fan of Belair.
It's the same gimmick. It's just
we talked about the women's wrestling in AEW for a while now. That it's nowhere near, and that's not even just gimmick wise. That's just ladies versus ladies. Each division, one is just outshining the other one way too much. I mean, even the rookies, if you'll call it, women of WWE or NXT are still just way better than what you see on AEW.
Absolutely.
I'm saying that, yes, Private Party and Street Profits are extremely way too much alike when it comes to the gimmicks. It's very too much the same. However, where I was going with this, I went down more of a rabbit hole or a stupid thought than I probably should have, but here's where I was actually heading with this. When I said, who the fuck are Street Profits, weren't these guys doing like 1 billion backstage segments and now all of a sudden they're tag champs? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they just... I feel like there's a lot of other teams out there that could have been tag champs right now. Yep. I don't know. Maybe the team that is with Rollins and Murphy, I would have put it on them somehow in like a 3-way tag match. Somehow they were involved and they pinned. I don't know. And it could have been a storyline. I don't know. And I don't care. I'm just saying I don't think Street Profits should be the ones holding the tag team championships right now heading into WrestleMania. Because unless you're planning on putting them on the pre-show, if the tag titles are on the pre-show, fine. I don't give a shit who's holding them then.
You know what? I'll take that a step further. Because It's really simple. It's really simple. This is not complicated. If you want, do a 3 or 4-way elimination tag team match for the titles for Raw. And the last 2 teams that are left are AOP and the Viking Raiders. And you've got a good feud. Yeah, you roll your eyes, man, but dude, why not? Like, that's something I'd be invested in because they were both in NXT. They were
okay. I'm not a. Oh God, you know what it is? I don't know why.
You just don't like the AOP.
No, I don't mind AOP. I really don't. Actually, I actually really liked them when they were in that. tag title ladder match with DIY the night that Tommaso turned heel. That was a great match. I'm a fan of AOP. Not a fan of, honestly, it sounds so stupid. It's very petty of me. I don't like the name of the Vikings. I don't like that they changed those guys' names from, not only from coming over from Ring of Honor and changing their names, but then also when they went from NXT to WWE, completely changing their names again. What were they? Hanson and Rowe. Now, I don't even know who is who. Ivar and
Eric.
What?
Eric and Ivar.
It's stupid.
Yep. Agreed.
And I don't know who is who, and I will tell you right now, do not fucking tell me, and I don't care. Hanson is the big beard guy. I know that.
There you go. Dude, listen, I understand, but that's not their fault. It's
No. It's not, but I'm saying I just can't get on board with, with the whole thing for some reason, because when I watch, I go, it just reminds me how stupid creative can actually be. Hey, I'm just want to say this right now. A man comes out week after week. He won the Cruiserweight Championship as the name of Buddy Murphy. He was Buddy Murphy. And all of a sudden now he's just Murphy.
Yeah.
What? Just Murphy? Like Madonna? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to, I know, Biggie Langston and Andrade Cien Almas. I mean, what's going to happen is it when they come up, Tommaso, Johnny, Adam, Kyle, Bobby,
okay,
Roderick. No, I'm serious. Hang on. Matt, Pete. You want me to keep going?
No.
Velveteen. He's just going to be Velveteen. DREAM. Yeah. All right. Now let's quickly talk about the women's. And I just realized as I went to take a deep breath, I just wheezed right in the mic, and I'm not going to edit that shit because that's a lot to deal with. I've been dealing with a cold, so if I sound really deep today, like Johnny Cash is talking with you, or maybe a little.
All right.
What
you did skip over the IC title match. You didn't want to talk about that?
No, I definitely want to talk about that. That was interesting. That was awesome because I don't think I've paid attention to Sami Zayn nearly enough. Or maybe I just haven't seen him take his hat off in a long time. His hair was mother effing epic. And did you see the tweet from Kevin Owens?
No.
When he congratulated Sami Zayn on the Intercontinental title victory, he said, and you did it at perfect timing because your hair is perfectly rivaling Wayne Gretzky's hair at the peak of his career, too.
I did see that. Yeah.
And it's so awesome because there's a picture of them side by side. And I
saw it. I did
that's
see
sick.
it, yeah.
It was a 3-on-1 handicap match.
Yeah.
Do you think all three hold the Intercontinental title? They may come out with that by SmackDown, or do you think it's just Zayn's only?
It was whoever took the pin.
Okay. What I'd really like to see... Well, I don't know how it's going to really happen, but I would really like to see the implosion of them and then just have those three guys fight it out at WrestleMania, and I don't give a shit what happens to Braun Strowman. But we are seeing it's probably going to be Zayn and Strowman. I mean, kind of how, the whole being a scaredy cat and running away from Braun, I think that's kind of, he really cheap got the pin on him, if you will. So I think that's probably where they're going to go, but I was really hoping Cesaro was going to get the pin.
Yeah, but again, remember...
But I was absolutely okay with Zayn taking it, too. There was nothing wrong with it. I'm just an extremely big Cesaro fan. That's it.
No, it's funny because last week we were talking, and I made the sarcastic comment of, why push him now? Exactly. Yeah, that could have been your excuse to put the belt on him, let him run with it for a while. Nope. And here's the thing. It's Sami Zayn's first title on the main roster.
Did he not have anything at all?
Nope.
Not a U.S. title?
Nope. So his first title is after, 3-4 months of being like a manager / valet / mouthpiece. And he's been on the main roster this long and has been that capable, has had great matches. And his first title is the revamped IC title in a 3-on-1 handicap match. Okay.
I loved his
backhanded.
Yeah, no, you know what? It is, but maybe it was the plan for a while. You know, they were going to have him be the manager. But I'll say I absolutely, one of my favorite things I loved was when Braun was down in the corner and Zayn had him in the corner and he stood on him and just started laughing, and he had like a Joker type sound laugh. And I'm glad to see Zayn is back in the ring. It's been a while because, of course, you know, again, he's been a manager for, again, 4 months. So, yeah, Sami Zayn, brand new Intercontinental Champion. Where does it go from here? We're going to find out this Friday on SmackDown. But now I can officially talk about Elimination Chamber's main event, if that's okay with you. I will say that I think this match should have opened the show, and I would have rather the tag team match close the show. Only because of, I think they lost the crowd pretty quick into this match. The girls just, it didn't seem right. A lot of them, you could tell they were calling out spots. Not even tell, you could legitimately hear. What I said to you earlier when I said that we're going to talk about Natty, Natty was way too freaking loud. You could hear everything she was doing. Even when the ref came over and said, "Hey, are you okay?" She's like, I'm okay. And maybe that was to be that way, and I'm okay with that one for being character, but you could hear her going, "Come closer. Okay, wait, you're going to dip." She was just very loud, and she wasn't the only one who was like that. The whole match just put together seemed kind of, I don't know, awkward. But I will say my favorite parts of the match. Now, I am actually not opposed to Baszler running through everybody and making everybody tap. Not opposed to that at all. I think that was actually a strong move. You made her look strong. I think that certain people could have lasted a little bit longer. Good to see Ruby Riott back in there. Good to see Sarah Logan. I mean, these are people that honestly I was a little worried about when the division started to really grow out, and they kept bringing up ladies from NXT, and you still had Charlotte and everybody all in the main picture. When certain groups like that split off, you know, Mandy Rose got the spotlight. Right. You know, and the only person who really was around as of recent was, for a while, was Sarah Logan, because Liv Morgan was out for a while with, right, you know, kind of revamping herself, and Ruby was nursing injuries. Actually, she's been ready to go for a while. I've been kind of waiting to see her. I've actually been a very big Ruby Riott fan. I like watching her in the ring. But Baszler comes in, kicks everybody's ass. The freaking swinging, I don't know, whatever you call it. What is that called when you, like a swinging wheelbarrow, when you throw someone, when you grab them by their legs and throw them up against the cage or up against.
Lord, who was that? It was Liv, right?
Poor Liv Morgan. I was like, she's dead.
Yeah, just right up against that plexiglass.
The cage, she was fine, but when she hit the plexiglass, I was like, she dead.
That was a dead stop.
Yeah, but then when she kind of started getting up, she looked like she was crying. I'm like, please tell me that you're just faking and you're really okay. Right? I'm like, because I would be crying. That looked like it hurt. I don't care if your arm was there or not. Baszler swung that body because, I mean, I don't want to guess what Liv Morgan's weight is, but I mean, whatever it is, Baszler can definitely lift. I like Liv Morgan. I like Liv Morgan. But you know who else I really like? I love Asuka.
Yes, that's my gripe.
She's your gripe?
No, my gripe is that they didn't go longer.
I absolutely agree.
They should have went a little bit longer.
For how much shit Asuka was talking in that cage the entire time. I was like, that's what I love. The whole time you're, I was like, oh, she's getting me ready. I go, she's going to go in. And one of the things in our news that we haven't gotten to yet, but we saw, was that Vince McMahon apparently has reservations on Shayna Baszler. He's not really feeling if she is the superstar to push. I think it had, I texted you this on the side, and I do remember saying this. They backed themselves into the corner with that biting thing, man. I really think that they put her into an area where she's like, I'm going to chew my way through the roster and all this. I think that it was really stupid. Just have her come out and break Lynch's arm. Don't ever wrestle all the way to WrestleMania. Boom. That's all you had to do. Whatever they're doing is really, it was kind of a stupid angle, and I think that's why McMahon doesn't get it. But it was also his probably idea to have the biting, which, yeah, there's no way Triple H is like, how about she comes in and bites her? Yeah, never mind. I'm gonna give Trips that answer or that credit. But yeah, man, you're right. Asuka and her could have definitely went a little bit longer. But, with that match, I was kind of worried that, like with that news that, well, maybe Baszler is not going to win. Are we going to get Asuka and Lynch at WrestleMania? And I started to think about it and said, I am cool with this. Because if they do take Baszler out of it, she's the next best thing that I would like to see. I would be okay with her taking the title off of Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. That would have been really cool to see. I think Asuka's owed one for what happened with her streak and losing to Flair and everything from there, losing to fucking James Ellsworth and everything beyond that. She's owed one. Her and Kairi Sane with the tag titles, love it. They are awesome together. That was the only thing holding me back. I was like, well, she's still holding the tag titles. They're not going to let her win this match.
Yeah, and Becky's already had 2 matches against Asuka recently, so they've kind of put that feud to bed. They wasted it.
True.
So if you're really give Shayna the title, and Becky can still be Becky. She doesn't need the belt anymore.
If that is the case, then why did we put this on last? That match should have opened, and believe it or not, with the amount of excitement that it held, I would have been absolutely fine that you let the tag team titles close the pay-per-view. Why not? Or even Black and Styles with Taker coming out at the end. You could have done something. The show fell flat once those girls came out because everybody was like, well, this is stupid, man. Baszler's going to win this whole thing. As soon as she came out and started taking everybody out, man, her one knee to Ruby Riot's face, I was like, did she connect? I mean, Ruby's eyes went to the back of her head, but I'm sure she is great at selling. Speaking of hard hits, Aleister Black and Styles that match was hard hitting as well.
Yeah,
they
great.
took it. Black Mass. Did you see how he connected with his chin?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. So before we wrap up here, before we wrap up Elimination Chamber, let's just quickly talk about what we have now heading into Mania. We're going to talk about as guaranteed we have for the Universal Championship, Bill Goldberg taking on Roman Reigns. We have for the WWE title, Drew McIntyre trying to take the title from Brock Lesnar. NXT Women's title will be Rhea Ripley defending against Charlotte Flair. And also confirmed, we have now, of course, last night, Shayna Baszler taking on Becky Lynch, and John Cena taking on Bray Wyatt.
Hooray!
Yeah, that's kind of what I didn't say. So here's ones that are pretty much almost set that I think are going to be confirmed tonight. Edge and Randy Orton, and AJ Styles and Undertaker. Rumored, other than that, the only thing I hear rumored is Bayley and Banks. That's the only thing, and I'm not sure if you've heard that, but that's the only thing I've heard as of recent. But, other than that, I'm actually just going to kick it over to you for the news of the ODM, and I'll even let you lead in with the any other rumored matches that maybe you've heard of.
Yeah, excuse me. It took him a half hour to read the WrestleMania card. Not his own fault, so.
Just wait till they start adding to the 14 matches. And each match is all fatal 4-ways, so you have to get all of those people correct. It's funny because I could go back right now and probably tell you most of the cards in order for a good chunk of the WrestleManias up until they went like 19-hour shows.
The latest that I've heard, and this is scuttlebutt, I don't have a particular source, is now I think it's going to be a fatal 4-way. It's going to be Sasha, Bayley. Gotta remember who's in that division.
Please do not tell me Lacey Evans.
What's that?
Or what's her name? Lacey.
Yep, Lacey is one of them. Thank you. Oh, who else? I'm sorry. That's what a great job they've done with the women's roster is that I
Thank
can't
you.
even think of Naomi.
I'm on backwards.
So, yeah. So that is the latest. Sasha's injuries continue to plague things with that. So
That's annoying.
yeah.
So what news you got for us?
All right. Sean Spears is looking for a tag partner. Did you send in your submission? I did.
Did you? I definitely
I
didn't.
did not. No.
I bruise like a peach. But did you see that Cody made the announcement that as soon as that happened, it bogged down the AEW website because they got so many submissions. I mean, think about every independent wrestler out there. And one that we personally follow from What Culture Wrestling, Simon Miller, and I know you brought it to my attention.
It gets enough.
Why? Because I actually think I would love to see him be the person, but he's getting a pretty good amount of push and follow from all the people that do watch What Culture. I think it's interesting, but I think it's because they backed themselves into a corner about a month ago, and they're like, "We're finding you a tag team partner." And then I think they looked around the roster and they said, "Nothing's gonna fit. What do we do?"
Yeah, right.
I think that's kind of what happened. I think they backed themselves into the corner, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. No, that's all I really had on that.
Yeah, just kind of trail off here. Okay. PW Insider has named their Wrestler of the Decade. Would you like to take a guess?
I did see this, so I would absolutely guess right. And to be honest with you, if I had to choose someone that would be Wrestler of the Decade, I would definitely say the man that got it is the phenomenal one, and I would have given it to him as well, AJ Styles. I don't argue with it. Now, if you said last 5 years, man, Adam Cole might be the guy. Same with Kazuchika Okada, though. You know what I'm saying? Or Kenny Omega. You know, like you have a lot of guys you'd be looking at. But in the 10-year span from 2010 to 2020, in 2010 he was still with TNA, but this is also right before he began to break away from them. I think he broke away in 2012, so 2 years with TNA. Then he went to Japan, Ring of Honor, PWG, I mean everywhere, and then of course landing into the Royal Rumble in 2016. Yeah, so yeah,
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it's true. I am definitely on board with him being the Wrestler of the Decade. Awesome. I think it's freaking phenomenal.
But so, did you happen to catch the video of there's a couple guys wrestling at a Walmart? They actually did a Spanish fly off a counter into a table.
You know, at first I saw it and I was like, this is some stupid shit. I'll just scroll by it or whatever.
It was pretty cool.
Well, hang on. Then I watched it again and I go, wait, why does this keep popping up? Well, this is really popping up a lot. And go ahead, give us the news. Why is this popping up a lot for me?
Well, you know, Joey Janela does his spring break event, and it is rumored that those two guys from the video at the Walmart are going to be wrestling at the event.
Okay. So stupid.
This is one of those instances you have to kind of side with Cornette. You can see where he's coming from, right? Like, dude,
100%. I think it's dumb as shit.
It's
You're
awesome.
wasting time. I don't want to see it.
The video was cool. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, it's some backyard shit that happened to be inside of a freaking Walmart. All you're going to do now is start getting copycat people who are going to go into Walmarts. Then all of a sudden you're going to have the Target fighters. Then there's going to be your local grocery store fighters. And then car wash, you know, where you have to, it's the car wash contest between women. Not degrading women. I'm just thinking it would really look great when they all wore white. Bad. I forgot it's 2020.
Okay.
I'm Cornette. No. Anyway, for real, I think you're just going to see a bad string of copycats at the end of the day, and I think it's stupid. Please don't do this.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's Joey Janela, so.
That's true. He's a bad boy.
Yeah, anyway. So last week on Being the Elite, it ends with Matt and Nick saying, we finally get to go home for a few days. They get a phone call, and they're like, nope, we got to go to the airport. Let's go. And later in the week on Free the Delete, it was Matt Hardy the episode started with Matt talking to somebody on the phone, and it ended with the Young Bucks showing up. On today's, or on Monday's, being the Elite, Matt was having flashbacks to that event, and they're teasing that. Now, Matt Hardy has announced that he has been in discussions with AEW, and then there are details about his proposed assignment to NXT would be like, but still no official word. I think, to me, it's got to be down between AEW and NWA. I think those are Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor, too.
Well, you know what? I last week I said I think him and Marty Scurll together in Ring of Honor could really do some good work together and bring that company back to a very good creative side. But I also think that would be a amazing character for NWA. And I don't think we even mentioned that last week. I think it was like later in the week it occurred to me. I was like, why? Man, that would be perfect, because that fits the mold of exactly what that show is.
All right, and Matt doesn't need anything spectacular. He could do cable access. He just wants to be happy, I think, at this point. He wants to be creative.
But no effing way it's going to be NXT. Because you know why? NXT is pushing younger talent. There's no one really on there that is from the... I mean, you might get your Tyler Breeze, but no one that's majorly established is on that roster. Besides, Finn Balor, but I'm saying that he was NXT grown, whatever you want to call it. Here's what I'm saying is, when you left WWE, you left the umbrella. NXT is a fucking... just a section or whatever, a branch off of what WWE is. There's no way that he's going into NXT.
Oh, you're saying there's no way he goes to NXT? Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, no, he's not going to go to NXT.
No, it's stupid to even think that was an option.
Right. What came out were discussions on their end of what they could do if he went. But yeah, you're absolutely right. At this point, he just wants creativity. So he's going to... Now, I think any one of those options are going to give him creativity, but it still doesn't say... And they're definitely... Listen, AEW and Matt Hardy at best are trolling us, or at worst are trolling us. I'm okay with it. It's great. It's intriguing.
And you know what? I'm actually
from their
okay.
End has to deliver now.
Yes, I totally agree. I am absolutely okay if they are not trolling and they're really just doing this as a long promotion. Because if it does happen, if they keep building this the way that they're making it look, the pop's going to go absolutely nuts when Hardy does show up wherever that may be.
Yep.
And we'll get into that a little bit later on when we talk about the Wednesday Night Wars coming up in just a couple of minutes. Let's blast through what else we got for news here.
All right, we're going to do this real quick. We're going to go speed round here.
Doesn't have to be necessarily speed round, but
yeah, some of it we can speed round here. Omega has a broken finger from their match at Revolution. 1 to 2 weeks, they say. Hopefully he will be there for the 318 show in Rochester. That would be awesome. Nick Jackson is awaiting the birth of his third child, I believe. So who knows if he'll be at the 318 show.
So is that why...
the mystery partner.
No, forgive me, I'm sorry. But is that why Matt Jackson was probably by himself this past week on Dynamite when he showed up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they referenced it in being the Elite last week, I believe. So...
Stone Cold, shocked that a broken finger is making Omega stop. It must be his strong hand.
He points a lot. He points a lot.
I'm sorry. Are you shitting me? Are you saying because he? Yeah, move on, please. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That's not actual news. I just trying to be funny. Sorry. Stone Cold's to appear on the 316 episode of Raw. So he's going to come out and drink lots of beer, say his catchphrases, stunner somebody, maybe 2 or 3 people, and Raw's still going to suck.
Does he insert himself to be a referee somewhere at WrestleMania?
No, just let him do the podcast. And
I'd be okay with him maybe being the special ref for McIntyre and Lesnar. I'd be okay with it. Just throwing it out there. Because if you're going to show up at WrestleMania season, you better be doing something, man.
Yeah.
Why else? And it's just because it's 316 day.
They've done that before.
Let a podcast out.
They've done. Okay. German wrestling promotion WXW afraid to mention AEW for fear of having heat with WWE. We talked about this a few weeks ago where AEW is not able to book certain arenas because of their deals with WWE, and I think you're just seeing it spread a little further now. It's it's an interesting. As much as things change, they remain the same, right? The territory system.
Hey, I see you guys are over
territories
here.
now.
I see you guys are playing tennis. Your basketball court is open. Is that okay if we use it? No, it's my basketball court. Yeah, but no, it's wide open. You're not there using it while you're playing tennis. Nope. It's mine. That's what it's really like, man. This is really fucking annoying, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
pretty stupid.
when you look at it, it's like childish bullshit, or really just politics at the end of the day, which is kind of one and the same. But are you kidding me, man? You're preventing people from just working in or are you? It's what it is. They're afraid that they're gonna see that these other promotions can put on really good shows, draw a good crowd, and WWE's going to be like, God damn it, now we got to go back there and put on a really good show to draw better money, or else they're not going to be in contract with us. I think it's bullshit that they do this to any other promotion. They've been doing it to AEW, now doing it to German wrestling promotion. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Hey, I'm just telling you what I hear.
I'm sorry, I just had to.
But
keep
we know
cutting
they
you off.
are
Go ahead.
serious.
By the way, I don't know if you know this, man, but you look really good in that top of the top of wrestling podcast T-shirt there. And if you guys need one, just let us know. We'll let you know how you need to get one.
Yeah, there you go. To the 5 people, we get a discount if we print 5, so that's awesome. That's our viewership. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the news.
All right. Well, hey, one of my favorite things to do is bring myself back to. Look, you and I both know we kind of disagree on the Attitude Era. One's happy about it, one's not. We're not even going to let you know who's for who, but it's me. I hate the fucking Attitude Era. But one of my favorite things about the Attitude Era was the back and forth of watching on one channel to the other. And you know what? It gets me giddy every time Wednesdays are here because it's Wednesday Night Wars! All right, man. So last week was a pretty busy week for both shows. NXT having a couple of cage matches, a couple of standout promos, and Dynamite rivaling with some really interesting storylines pushing forward. So go ahead. I'll let you run down all the results of NXT and Dynamite.
NXT. I'm going to, if I haven't been doing it, I want to do it because I put them in the notes all the time and I never feel like I mention them. NXT, 718,000 views. Started off with Dakota Kai facing off against Tegan
But
Nox.
before we forget, what was Dynamite's views? We'll be honest right now and figure that out because we'll forget.
Dynamite's was 906,000 views. Another win, 10 weeks in a row, I believe, for AEW.
But you and I differ. We've agreed that we differ on even though the ratings are up, who has the real better show in moving forward and for longevity. And now I used to think that that NXT was long ahead with longevity when it comes to the storylines, but AEW is really making a good push in the last couple of weeks here. So, yeah, go ahead. Let's talk about the first match, Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox.
Great match. We talked about, anticipating this feud continuing, especially with the introduction of Raquel Gonzalez.
Yes.
She was at ringside for the match, but obviously stuck outside the cage, but she still got involved several times with Tegan Nox, and it looked like Tegan had the match won. And Raquel Gonzalez uses the cage door to pin her to the side of the cage.
It's one of the most creative endings to a steel cage match I've ever watched.
It was awesome, and she's so tall that it worked. Like, that thing is, the door is pretty, and she was like almost to the top of the door, and it was great. Just a great spot. And you know what? It's not over. It's not over. We've got
That's what I like.
And I'm excited.
We're going to get a match between them at TakeOver, and I bet you it's going to be something to the extent of probably like a 3 stages of hell or something like that, because at this point they're having some pretty, hard matches. They had a street fight, then they have a cage match. Where do we go from here? And you and I talked about it. Back in the day, steel cage would end the feud. This one is just getting started, but I love that ending. I thought it was a really cool ending.
Last woman standing.
Oh, I could be okay with that. I could definitely be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know what? How I thought they were going to win is they're small enough. I thought someone was just going to squeeze through one of the corners right above the top rope.
Yeah.
Just the way it looks, I'm like, I bet you one of them.
They got the knee braces. The knee braces won't make it through.
That's true. Yeah. So, all right. What else happened with NXT?
Couple quick ones. Chelsea Green defeated Shotzi Blackheart. Austin Theory defeated Isaiah Swerve Scott. There was the cool Rhea Ripley package where she was at the stadium where WrestleMania is going to be held, and they're kind of just talking about her. So, that was cool. A little hype package. But
I actually really liked that because I didn't know. Well, I did because I kind of saw it when I saw the Mae Young Classic, but it really was there. There was a lot of comparisons. You're the next Charlotte Flair. And that whole video package was around, I'm not here to be the next Charlotte Flair. I'm here to be Rhea Ripley. And
right.
What's setting me apart. That video package was real cool inside of the stadium where WrestleMania 36 is going to be. I thought it was a great video package. Loved it. Yeah. I'm glad you talked about that.
What I thought was the best promo of the night was Mauro Ranallo interviewing Johnny Gargano.
Ooh.
And that, you want to talk real shit, work shoot shit, just you don't have to script it. These two know each other really well, and just tell them you're pissed at this dude and this is why, and boom, they go. And Mauro just getting up and be like, nope, I'm out. Great. Gargano's one of those ones. It's hard. It's man, you could turn him heel and it would be so good, but can you believe him as a heel? And I think Gargano, you can, if he plays it that way, where it just he's frustrated.
I am actually okay with it. He doesn't have to be full blown. I'm a heel bad guy, but it's just that I'm frustrated gimmick in a way. But the way he did no Mamma Mia's now, huh? Yeah. I was like, ooh. So I could see a good heel character out of this, but I was wrong. Last week, I predicted that we were going to get a fatal 4-way at TakeOver. But I think we're heading into a completely different direction now. And we're going to go ahead and finish off the rest of NXT as to why I say that.
Keith Lee cut a promo, got interrupted by Cameron Grimes.
And they're going to be fighting tonight for the North American title.
There you go.
And tonight is going to be hailing from the Performance Center.
Yes.
I'm interested to see how this is gonna look. I think it's gonna be very cool. I don't even know, is there a spot for fans?
Probably not a lot. I'm guessing that they have reasonings for doing this, and either way, it's cool. And we'll get to why that's going to be cool in a second.
Well, Johnny Gargano in his promo said next week the Performance Center where it all began. And I was excited to hear that. So that's why I was like, yeah, okay, if you're going to, it was perfect timing to do his interview with Mauro. The way he got into his face, you're messing with a guy that has he's very open about his health issues, mental health issues, which is bipolar disorder. Who's to say that when he got into Mauro's face, something didn't randomly snap? Because I was like, when I watch him, I'm like, he kind of looks scared. Is he playing or is this getting real? I'm like,
right.
Like for his own personal health.
Yeah.
But great segment, man.
But I'm guessing that him and Johnny are tight.
Oh, sure. He's got his shit under control, I'm sure. But I'm saying how he played it.
Yeah, but it was, it was chilling. It was chilling shit. But so I think, what was the final deletion? Was that Matt and Jeff at the Hardy compound?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. What if you did the Performance Center like that? It's just a ref and just the two guys in the ring. Kind of dim lit background and just, do a couple different camera angles.
I'm okay with it. You know why?
That'd be fantastic.
I think crowds ruin it for me, man. You know what really kills me?
NXT's not bad.
No, they're not. But you know what really kills me is actually in AEW 3 minutes into a match. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Is it? I really hate the "This is awesome" chant. It really has lost that, and of course the "You deserve it" chant. All those things. I mean, like, I just really hate listening to the crowd.
That
nowadays,
could be another
so.
list. Top 10 worst chants.
Oh, we have
Done.
it. Well, we have top 10 chants written onto is an upcoming idea, but
We can
I didn't
split
decide
best
if it
and
was good or
worst.
bad. So I like that because that is there's a lot of them that are really bad.
Oh, yeah.
The "what" one was actually one that really pisses me off.
What?
It never should have been unleashed onto the crowd.
What?
I can keep talking all night long, and to be honest with you, if you say "what" one more time, you're an idiot. Damn it.
I would have been laughing too hard anyway. You want me to finish talking about NXT?
Yeah, we might as well because I'm excited to talk about what happened in the main event.
Undisputed Era beat the Brit Am Brawlers for the NXT, or not for the titles. Wow, see how automatic that is with the UE. Good match, solid match. It was pretty quick. Broserweights come out, cut a little bit of a promo on them, and then they get jumped by the Grizzled Young Vets, who end up cutting a promo on the Undisputed Era, basically saying, "We don't care about your rematch. We're next in line. Kiss my ass." Great promo. I'm not very invested in the Grizzled Young Vets, but I am now after that.
I would be absolutely on board with at NXT TakeOver, Grizzled Young Vets versus Forgotten Sons versus Undisputed Era versus the Tag Champs in some form of a Fatal 4-Way match, whether it's just a regular Fatal 4-Way elimination tag match or a ladder match, whatever you end up wanting to do. They're starting to really push Forgotten Sons and Grizzled Young Vets. There's no way they're not going to be on this takeover, I think, especially because you already know where a lot of the main players are for NXT TakeOver. We already know that one of your biggest players, Rhea Ripley, probably isn't going to be doing anything that night. So there's room, especially for that tag team division. I think it'd be great to shine every one of those guys in a match together. So I think that's where they might be going. I think that's why Grizzled Young Vets came out. I could be wrong on Forgotten Sons, but I think that's where we're going next. But man, the main event, the steel cage. Roderick Strong took on Velveteen Dream.
DREAM is
another creative ending. Who doesn't want to win their match, right? No one wants to lose. Do you plan to lose? I've seen guys plan to lose in like a 2 out of 3 falls match where you hit him over the head. You're like, I'll go down one fall. Or in an Iron Man match and be like, that's all right. I'm going to get it back because of what I just did, with a dirty move. Velveteen throws Roderick Strong out of the cage to let him win the match once he had Adam Cole all alone in the cage and beats the shit out of Cole and raises the NXT Championship. I got swerved. I didn't think that's where they were going at all. I thought they would at least keep going this Strong Dream feud or something. Now that we're here, I don't want to see Ciampa or Gargano anywhere near this title. I thought it would have been fine with that Fatal 4-Way like we talked about, especially with Finn Balor. But now that we know he's involved with Walter, Gargano and Ciampa are doing their thing. Dream versus Cole. Could it be the time that the Dream actually wins the freaking title?
I'd love it. Part of me is being reserved and saying maybe it's not just time just yet, but at the same time, what else does he really need to prove?
Actually, for me, I'd say it's perfect time. Adam Cole doesn't need it any longer.
No.
I don't care if Adam Cole moves up or down. I mean, of course, I'd like him to stay in NXT, but
Sure.
If he moves on to Raw, that could be the next step for him. Who knows? But Velveteen, I think it's prime time. He lost a little bit of time with that injury, but he's been over, and he was a North American champion, and I think that there's a real strong case that he really could be a great face champion for you. We've had a heel champion, the cowardly champion for a little bit here. And it would almost make sense if he were to win. You still got a lot of heels that are in your company post WrestleMania that are in NXT. Baylor for one of them that could turn and try and have matches with him. So I'm saying Dream, the coronation of him at NXT TakeOver, I feel like it's inevitable. I think the pop would be absolutely great. What am I looking forward to more than anything? What the fuck is he going to wear to the ring? Because he's going to, if it's for that NXT title, he's coming ready to the ring. But this isn't his first world title chance. I think he attempted to take the title from Aleister Black, and they had a really great match at one of the takeovers.
That was that was the Say My Name match.
It was
the whole run.
Yep. So I'm excited to see where they go with Velveteen Dream. Like I said, I thought that Ciampa and Gargano, totally awesome. So going at it, I think NXT had a hell of a show, man. Everything on there, and he even had a Finn Balor promo on there. I know that he had a message for Walter saying that he's coming, so that's exciting too. Dynamite. Now, Dynamite, I can't say was a Dynamite show, but some very, very big things happened. And my favorite thing, honestly, was just the opening promo by Jon Moxley.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was Colt Cabana.
No. I am definitely a Colt Cabana fan. No, I mean, this was Jon Moxley's first promo since winning the AEW championship. And you and I talked about it on the side. We said the words that he kept saying, pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is back. That was an unscripted promo. You could tell he was fired up. He was jacked up. It was all just flowing out of his mouth. That was real. Of course, you have the "you deserve it." Could have did without that, but at the same point, I'm also like, nah, you do.
Yeah.
Because I keep seeing, especially with the coronavirus going around, I keep seeing memes of him wearing that gas mask, and it says, Dean Ambrose called us a while back. But he was in some really stupid shit before he left.
Yep.
He's come out, and I mean, he's a IWGP US champion. He fought in the G1. He fought at Wrestle Kingdom. He's had some barn burner matches there. He's had great matches with AEW. Let's not forget that awesome match with Kenny Omega where they fought through glass and barbed wire and everything else. Moxley definitely deserved that title last week at Revolution. His promo was all emotion. Absolutely on board with that promo. I think WWE guys need to just sit back and watch something like that. But then the Inner Circle, of course, does interfere. And now, it was a weird statement that Jericho made, that if I can't put Moxley completely away or something like that.
He doesn't walk out on his own.
Oh, if if Moxley doesn't walk out on his own, or no, if he does walk out on his own, I'll leave here for the next 60 days. Which is interesting because Fozzy is going on tour soon. But Moxley didn't walk out on his own, so how is that going to play in? I really wanted to get your take on this. Is Jericho going to be gone in the next couple of weeks, or do you think he stays around a little longer?
No, it's been reported recently that it sounds like TV for Dynamite is pretty flexible. So Jericho can hit his tour dates with Fozzy and still be in a town for Dynamite.
Really?
So it doesn't look like he's going to miss any time. So I think it was a swerve just because AEW knows most of their fans are smart marks. So that they understand that. Because they were cheering after he made that 60-day comment. Everybody was cheering, Fozzy sucks. So, they knew.
Cold like December snow. God, that's such an awesome song.
Sticks with you, man. Sticks with you. That was my pump-up music for today.
Oh, such a good one. I actually had to YouTube the choir singing that song again. It's just so cool.
So I was thinking about switching up my instead of doing Scott Steiner today, I was thinking about just singing Judas. But then that would have been our last episode. And
like the choir or like Jericho?
No, like me singing. Just singing Judas.
Wow, they really would have been the most unluckiest 13th episode ever.
Yeah, pretty much. No, it was great. So I think Jericho's going to stick around. I think they just threw that in there because they know most of their fans are smart marks. And the Shield powerbomb at the end of the show. Sorry, not to jump ahead, but it was
fantastic. Especially because instead of using the fists together, they all did middle fingers, all 5 of them together, and it was amazing. I thought it was awesome. If I'm not mistaken, it was also when Jericho came out and started talking and the crowd started booing him. He had, I think, just one of my favorite comebacks I've just ever heard. Shut your asses. Shut your asses. I was like, he's
the best, man.
Awesome, man. I love him on the mic.
He's the goat.
We did see the SCU and Cole Cabana, who you did mention, who also just recently signed with AEW. I'm excited for that, man. I like him. I've always liked him. When he was the first time I ever saw him, of course, with Second City Saints with CM Punk in Ring of Honor. Very comical, of course. He's done a lot of stuff in Ring of Honor as well as New Japan. Let's see where he goes from here, but I think he's probably going to be just another funny gimmick as we kind of have going in AEW, unfortunately. The next match, whatever. Yeah, Jake Hager did defeat Marshall.
It basically was an entire segment just to further the Hangman and Young Bucks thing.
For him to come out and flip off Matt Jackson.
And then he left with, I'm going to say, 8 cans and cups of drinks from the fans. I don't know how he carried them all and how he was actually drinking out of one of them at one point. I'm like, how the hell are you doing this?
I wonder if any of those guys are staged that give him the drink, because, man, you got to really be trusting on what you're about to drink. You know what I'm saying?
Just the ones that, I don't know.
I don't know. I just kind of thought about it. I was like, I don't think I could really do that, man. Even if my gimmick was that. I mean, Stone Cold had beers thrown to him. He was smart about it. But let's talk about the biggest and best. I'm going to let you take it, man. I could hear your hands. It's like Christmas over here. Man, go ahead. It's your time.
I got to tell you something. Man, I don't know the last time something this significant, because, we're 1 minute we're complaining about 53-year-old Goldberg, right? But here comes 123-year-old Jake the Snake Roberts. And god damn it, I popped. He looks clean, he looks sober, he looks well. He cut the best promo I've heard all year.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable saying that.
Another unscripted.
It was Jake the goddamn Snake in his prime. And he did it like he's always done it, and he even said, he's like,
subtle and talking like this.
I used to put the snake in the corner, and I knew I had him in the palm of my hand. It's like, I'm gonna be, and he kept calling him Caesar. God damn it! And then at the end, a wise man told me never turn your back on a man that you fear or you respect. And he immediately walks away and throws the mic over his shoulder. God,
as his back is turned to him.
And let's get to the most important part. He has a client, which means he's going to be back at least a few more times, and it could be Brody Lee. I think it's going to be Brody Lee. Maybe it's Lance Archer. Maybe it's Matt Hardy. I don't know, man. There's so much going on in AEW right now, and I'm so excited to find out about all of it. This is why they're winning.
Did my phone just tell you a screenshot just happened?
No,
because I wish everybody. I think I got to put this on Facebook for everybody to see, but I'm gonna have to put the mask over your face.
Kayfabe, man, you can't show my face.
This dude's arms are in the air like a little kid. He's like, I'm so excited. Yeah, man. Honestly, I was jacked when I heard the song, and I go, it's cool. That bass guitar riff kind of sounds like almost like a Jake the Snake sound. And it not originally when I heard it, but like when I went back, but like you could tell it. But at first I'm like, huh, who's this? But as soon as that logo came up, I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And you know what? It makes a lot of sense. DDP, good friends with Cody Rhodes, and I think that WWE dropped the ball on getting Jake Roberts to do anything. He had one goal, one mission. That's all he asked for. Just put me in the Royal Rumble once. The place will go nuts. Doesn't matter when, where, why, how. I promise you, any Royal Rumble you put me in. And he's gotten really clean, and that's the one goal he had. They did put him into the Hall of Fame. But come on, man. The Hall of Fame is a fucking joke to me. I'm not saying to everybody. To me, it's a joke. Because this year we're getting JBL. Still don't have certain guys in there that deserve it, like, I don't know, Rick Rude. I'll move on from that one.
Moving on. Well, we can move on quickly from this. Big Swole.
Well, hang on. Actually, I had something I wanted to bring along to this Jake Roberts thing here. You're right. Best promo that anybody has done, because it was just him being him, that subtle voice. And you're right. Turn the back. I mean, he's a great psychology ring worker, and he's psychologically great on the mic. Yes, we do bitch about a 50-something-year-old Goldberg becoming the champion. Jake's not here to do that. Jake's here the same reason that Tully Blanchard is there. I don't give a fuck that Tully's there. I'm fine with it. The difference is that Jake's a much better promo guy. I mean, best case scenario for Bray Wyatt at this fucking point right now is like 20 years from now, he's a mouthpiece for someone.
Yeah, serious.
You know what I mean? Like, because he could really carry on the mic and get you psychologically listening to the things he's talking about and fuck with your head talking about the wrestler, because he's that good. Jake Roberts, Bray reminded me of Jake, because it's that you don't even need to scream when you're talking, but when I talk, you're going to listen. And fuck, man, that whole promo. But he said, he didn't say I'm here tonight. He said, I'm with AEW. That was a very specific wording. I came here to be an AEW or something like that. I'm a part of AEW. Something
I don't
to that
want.
effect.
I don't want the whole pie. Just your piece.
Yeah. So again, this is where that, like, man, like, we had 2 cage matches and a lot of big things pointing towards TakeOver on NXT, but halfway through the night, Dynamite took a giant jump with Jake the Snake fucking Roberts.
Yeah, something else, man. I didn't think I needed that. I kept looking at that. At first, I was just looking at him like, please be okay. Please don't, like, stumble or... And then the promo started, and I'm like, okay, my apologies.
Snake is here.
You've got it. You've got it.
And you know, it's funny about, you know, things you didn't need. You're like, it's things I didn't know I needed.
Right.
Yeah, that's something you need. But you know you didn't need? Big Swole taking on Leva Bates.
Yeah, Big Swole defeated Leva Bates.
Yeah, it was just, I'm not a fan of really, God, it's not a sexist thing, man. I'm not a fan of AEW women's wrestling. It's just nothing.
I don't even care about that.
We
know Leva Bates is a jobber, and Big Swole, listen,
I think they're gearing her towards Nyla Rose.
She scares me when I see her wrestle, because it's either just going to look, whatever. I'm not here to talk shit about somebody. So anyway, moving on to the next match. Mm-hmm. Pac defeated Chuck Taylor, or Shoes, and ends up forming a stable with the Lucha Bros called Death Triangle, or Triangulo de la Muerte, which I kind of like. I want to get a t-shirt of that, but it's got to be in Spanish.
I hope they do sell them that way. I'm sure they will on AEW Shop or whatever it is. I love this. Yeah. You know, again, we're talking about progression, things moving forward. It's funny because as soon as, you know, Pac joins up with Luchas, I keep seeing online, people are like, oh, they really need to get 6-man tags in there because of this now. No. There's no other 6-mans to rival right now. There's nothing out there. Let them just run rampant and beating the shit out of each other. Or they help elevate Pac to become the next champ. Because, again, I said it. Who is Moxley going to face soon? We need a heel. Luchas are guys that Moxley starts to fight. We haven't seen him face Pentagon Jr. or Rey Fenix one-on-one, have they?
Nope.
Or wait, no.
Penta would be great.
Right. So in a building towards Pac, I think all of it is a great way to go. Death Triangle, big thumbs up from me. Again, one of those things. Didn't know I needed it. Now I'm happy I got it. I think that's a great stable.
Listen up, ya swipes.
I love him.
Yeah.
He's just, next to MJF, he is the best heel. But the only reason MJF gets best heel is because he just lives the part. I really believe at the end of the day, if I saw Pac in a bar, pretty sure he might calm the fuck down.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure MJF is just a prick.
He's going to be a dickhead to you.
Did you see what he did at the autograph signing
Okay, so basically, I'm just going to jump ahead and say this. I thought about this the other day. The New York Post ended up covering it.
Yeah.
The New York Post is a bunch of marks.
Yep.
That's really all I have to say. It is the most fucking hilarious. Kayfabe's been dead for 30 years. And MJF has brought it back to the point where the New York Post is reporting one of AEW's wrestlers gave the middle finger to a young boy. Yeah, because that's his character.
What accent was that?
What's that?
What accent was that?
That was the newscaster. It's not really an accent. It's anyway.
No,
Yeah,
honestly,
fantastic.
I saw it and my response is they're like that the father said something like, I guess they interviewed him and the father did say something like, yeah, it's just really not family friendly. Hey, motherfucker.
No shit.
AEW said we are giving you something different, and that's what they just gave you. Good for MJF. I only wish I had a kid that he did that to. That would have made my life. Or
I'd have been pissed off if he didn't do it to my kid.
Right?
Like, what? Bro, seriously, you're not going to flip off my kid?
What?
The
You
fuck?
don't think? What do you think? He's cool? Oh my God, it was so awesome. And that was before his match with Cody.
Yep.
Yeah. I love MJF. I love watching him. Here's
he
a little
cut a hell of a
tidbit.
promo on Dynamite.
Yeah.
He had the shirt, and that's a Dusty classic, man.
Yep.
The shirt, what was it? Dusty. Oh God, it was Terry Funk had a shirt, and it was talking shit about Dusty, but it was the same style as shirt with the lettering on it.
I can't remember what it was, but this one did say I pinned Cody.
Yep, and it was fantastic. And God damn it, I love Wardlow. Wardlow is Jake Hager to the next level, right? Because Jake Hager pretty much does the same thing where he just stands around, doesn't say shit. But Wardlow, he's on the screen, and I'm still keeping my eye on him. Like, all right, this motherfucker comes at me, I'm running.
Speaking of Wardlow, that's another dude. He kept an extremely straight face, when MJF did flip off that kid. I watched. I'm like, did Wardlow
But he's
even
probably
crack? I go, nope.
He probably flips off every kid, so Wardlow's probably seen it 50 times during the day.
It wouldn't matter if that was my goal, and you're like, hey man, we're gonna pay you like $50,000 a year to walk around behind MJF, and just whatever. But listen, you can't laugh when he flips off kids. Fuck, you got to find somebody else, man, because I'm gonna laugh. That's really funny. Yeah, honestly. So, and then of course, we're gonna talk about the main event was Inner Circle defeating Darby Allin and Jon Moxley. There was a beatdown, pre and post match for this, ending with just Inner Circle being on top. Nothing that we haven't closed out Dynamite with a couple of recent times anyway. I was kind of hoping for something a little more exciting, but nothing really did happen. I will say, you know what? Let's have some fun with this, man. We've never tried it like this. Who had the best show? Count of three. 1, 2, 3. NXT.
AEW.
I beat you.
The numbers say different.
Just because a shitload of people watch Grey's Anatomy doesn't mean it's a great fucking show.
It was a really good show.
Do you have any idea how many people watched Masked Singer?
I don't want to think about it. I don't want to be depressed, so... Whatever.
People vote for that, but they won't vote for the next president. I always love that, by the way. I love it when you listen to, like, American Idol votes, things like that. They're like, 50 million votes. I'm like, wow, what the fuck is wrong with our society, man? But...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for...
Best there is, the best there was, and the best that there ever will be. Hold 2, arm bar.
Sodas rule. Yeah, they do.
Hold 3, the moss-covered, 3-handle family granunzel. It's me, Austin.
Just when they think they got the answers, I change the questions.
I did it for The Rock.
This week's top topic.
You know something, Mean Gene? John Cena.
Wrestling's not fake.
The Rolex wearing one, diamond ring ring wearing, what? Kid stealing, woo, wheeling dealing, what? Limousine riding, what? Jet flying, what? Son of a gun, woo!
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
If you smell.
The following ranking order and final decisions are a completely bias-based order, based off The Professor and ODM made it. And as always, they like to let you know they have not worked in the business, but have been lifelong invested fans much like you, our listeners. With not only their opinions involved, but with countless amount of hours of research done each week, they make sure to provide proper facts and history to back it up. However, they do know that your opinion may vary from theirs. If there is anything you want to chat about, bring to their attention. If there is something they missed or forgot, or you just want to let them know they are out of their freaking minds, feel free to shoot them a message on Facebook or Twitter, or email them at thetopofwrestling@gmail.com. As always, they do appreciate all feedback and continued support. At the end of the day, they want to make sure that you do see the best of the best before you die. And now, this week's top topic.
Woo-wee! All right, I'm excited. We're talking about today's top topic. That is the top 20 debuts or crossovers into other promotions. Man, this took me a long time. It took. I'm going to take that back. Hang on. It took us a long time, and I like to use the word us because we are a good effing team. But it didn't take me any time at all because I was out last week, man. Sick as shit. And ODM, like I said, the man that of many, many talents, and the one who gets this show going, hardest working man in podcasts, he is the one that made this list. And as soon as I saw it, I said, nah, we're good. Not one thing. And that was with a lot of NyQuil.
Yeah, well, that would probably explain it. Yeah, so send all your complaints my way, but I stand by it, man.
No, I totally do. And actually, as I look at every one of them, I'm like, oh man, I not only remember how it happened, generally where I was, how like the reaction of if I was in the room with other people and stuff. Some of these ones are pretty big, and we're going to talk about them. But we always like to have an honorable mentions list. Here's a couple of them that are on there. The Hardys returned to WrestleMania 33. After the broken gimmick has taken the wrestling world by storm, well, at least across the internet, we know that they showed up in Impact, or they were in Impact, but they also show up in Ring of Honor, PWG, and all other promotions. And after they have a ladder match with the Young Bucks at one of their pay-per-views, I do a Supercard of Honor, I believe it was. Less than 24 hours later, they debut at re-debut, we'll call it, at WrestleMania 33 in probably one of the coolest pops and moments of all time when the New Day introduces them. I think you could hear the crowd going, delete, delete, delete. It's what they wanted.
Oh, it was fantastic, yeah.
But I was still a little worried that it was going to be the New Day taking the spot when they said it was going to be a fatal four-way. But as soon as you heard that, and one of my favorite things is just watching the New Day do the Hardys dance in the background. I was like, it's so cool because like they were marking out for the moment too. Fucking love the New Day as the host. I would actually like to see them as hosts again. They're fun. But we also have Edge's recent return to the Royal Rumble because, man, what was it, 9 years later? Is that what the number was? 9 years? Yeah. So that was a giant, we'll call it re-debut because that man's been retired for a very long time. When that music hit, the place went nuts.
Awesome. That was great.
Two other debuts. I'm going to call this one a crossover. The first one is DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. This debut to me was very, very huge because if you go back and listen to it, this is a man that was stalking The Undertaker and stalking his wife. And he was wearing a black mask, and no one knew who it was. Could have been anybody. He rips the mask off, and the place went absolutely apeshit. And he said, Undertaker, just like the Diamond Cutter, you never saw it coming. Awesome. And it died right there. That was the very last cool thing that DDP ever did in WWE.
Pretty much.
Minus that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And then the big smile. I like when he worked with Christian. That was fun. But they ruined DDP pretty quick. The Undertaker beat the living shit out of him in every match. But I think the debut in WWE, it was big. Kind of much of the reason we're going to talk about some of these other crossovers because they're guys that you would have never expected. Do you ever really expect to see Diamond Dallas Page in a WWE ring?
No, didn't fit.
Especially after what we saw was inherited from the the beginning of the purchase of WCW, things were looking really grim. It was not looking great for us at this point. Us in WWE. So when Diamond Dallas Page showed up, it was a big moment. But again, very flat moment. I know you can't wait to talk about our other honorable mention. This is our last honorable mention, and it's one of, honestly, what do you want to do? We're going to say this one's on here for comic relief, like shock relief?
Yeah, just because it was one hell of a debut, and it's worth mentioning. It's got to be on a list of some kind, so it's the Shockmaster. If you're not familiar with the Shockmaster, you might be familiar with Tugboat or Typhoon from the Natural Disasters in WWF. Ended up going to WCW and debuted as a surprise tag team member of Davey Boy Smith and...
I believe Sid Justice and Sting, right?
Yes. Sid Justice is correct. Clash of Champions, August 18th, 1993. He had on a Stormtrooper helmet from Star Wars that was purple and covered in glitter. And on cue, as he was announced was supposed to run through a wall, ended up tripping on the wooden frame, going head over ass, losing his helmet and scurrying. Meanwhile, Davey Boy Smith and Sid Justice are just talking shit out loud.
And it's caught on camera with Davey Boy saying, he fell on his arse.
Needless to say, we did not see much of the Shockmaster after that.
Oh, that is such a... Oh, man, it doesn't get old. It really doesn't.
It doesn't.
It looks like it was almost planned. Do you
Anybody
know what I mean?
out
Like,
there
that's
who-
how bad it looks.
I'm guessing anybody that listens to this knows who the Shockmaster is, but if you don't, Google it. It's a 30-second clip, maybe a minute. Yeah. It's well worth
There's
it.
no way you're listening to this podcast and you don't know who Shockmaster is. That's for sure. At least so far in our early episodes here.
Well, there you go.
But let's talk about our top 20 debuts, or again, crossovers. This one is a crossover. This is one I never personally expected, but I will never forget the moment the beeps started going off at Royal Rumble 2000. Kurt Angle is in the ring, talking shit as only Kurt Angle can do, and the Olympic gold medalist is met by our number 20 entrant, Taz. Taz shows up and puts Angle to sleep right away and breaks Kurt Angle's undefeated streak, making him submit. Great backstage segment afterwards was Kurt going, "Did I win? Is Taz okay?" I love him. But again, one of those other ones that is probably the highest glory of moments that we unfortunately got with Taz. So much potential was there when Taz came over, and they did make him a commentator. But I got to say, not a bad move. I actually really like him as a commentator. I've never disliked him. I think, especially with his knowledge and his background with wrestling, but he was a fucking badass dude in ECW. I thought WWE struck gold when they got him in 2000 because the Monday Night Wars are still going at this point. You take Taz into here, that's giant. But, you know, that's that. Again, I think after that, he may have gotten into some hardcore title stuff, gotten some shit with Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross, and then became a commentator. Meh.
Yeah.
Number 19. Never saw this coming. Not in a million years.
No.
And oh man, this is a really funny story. No one knows this story, but when you put this on here, I go, this is the first time I could ever actually tell this story out loud. Number 19 is Eric Bischoff crossing over and showing up on Monday Night Raw. And Eric is the new general manager of Raw. And he is welcomed by Vince McMahon, who introduces him. And they give each other a giant big ol' hug. And that is July of 2002. A little background here for you. Fresh out of high school. And the girlfriend I was dating at the time thought that wrestling wasn't cool. But when you're 19 years old and you know, things change. You know, boobs. Anyway, so No, so I wasn't really watching wrestling as consistent. I had the DVR going at home. However, I'm flipping through the channels on her TV, and I remember her dad going, "This is garbage." And I just switched by.
Sir,
and
it happens to be actually a well-scripted program with athletic feats that you can't understand.
See, now, right now, I would actually love to give that description. I feel like I should go back in time and I love that. That's exactly how he said, "Sir, what you don't understand." No, I flip by, and I'm literally at the exact time seeing McMahon and Bischoff hugging, and he backs up. I go, "What the fuck?" And he goes, and no shit, he goes, "Turn this off." Oh, I had to move on. No kidding. 15 minutes later, I had a stomach ache. Hey, I'm not feeling good. I got to go home. Swear to God, went home, hit start over, Raw, and began watching it from there and got to see this whole thing play out. It was awesome. There's a great story for you, man. Nothing that anybody else in the world got to deal with, but yeah. I love that was awesome. Sir, it's a great art form. Oh, man. Number 18. I have nothing but respect for this man. It's the 5-time, or well, actually 6-time world champion, 5-time WCW champion, 1-time WWE world champion. We have Booker T. Man, this guy debuted at King of the Ring in 2001, interfering in Stone Cold Steve Austin's match, and he came with that world title belt because he was the last not only world champion, but U.S. heavyweight champion in WCW because the titles were merged together on the final night at Nitro. And Booker shows up and interferes, costing Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I think it was, this is one of the good debuts or crossovers because you can't say, yeah, okay, we can always talk about WrestleMania 19, but we're going to just say, give a shit, however you look at it. That man did main event-ish a WrestleMania. He had a great career. He really did. He was a tag champ in multiple forms. Loved him with Goldust. He was a U.S. champion. He had matches with Cena. When he was a king, when a King of the Ring, he had awesome matches with so many guys on the card, including Undertaker. Then goes over to TNA and working with a lot of the younger talent and gets to take on the likes of Matt Morgan, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and he was still going at that age. Then comes back to WWE, shows up for a Royal Rumble, huge pop. The guy is amazing. I've always been a big Booker T fan, and this is kind of a big, I think one of the best crossovers ever to come from WCW.
Yeah, Booker is fantastic. He was super over. It was unfortunate that his big push didn't come until the end of WCW, but it definitely was great. You know what? You want to pop at WrestleMania? You know that motherfucker could get in a ring right now and be fit just fine, probably.
I don't even need him to wrestle. I just wanted to go see him do a spin-a-rooney.
Spin-a-rooney, yeah.
You know, you say that he wasn't pushed until later, but he
in
was
WCW.
always
in WCW.
Well, yeah, but hang on. I'm going to actually disagree on that for just a little bit here. He was a tag champ with Stevie Ray, of course, for the longest time.
95, 96, yeah.
And even 97 and 98.
Sure, I'm just saying it goes back far.
Nope.
Yeah.
But in 99 and 2000, he transitioned into being a television champion. They started to build him just right.
Oh, yeah.
Had WCW stuck around for many more years, I think Booker could have been just staying right in that main event title picture. He was just getting there. I love how he won the world title because that is from the infamous Bash at the Beach bullshit between Hogan, Russo, and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Yep. End of the night. And Vince Russo says, I promise you guys will have a new champion at the end of the night. Jeff Jarrett takes on Booker T, who just had a match earlier in the night. And Booker rightfully got the world title that night. So I think it was the right call. It was also a big fuck you at Hogan because of what happened. Hogan, of course, sued, or tried to sue WCW, I believe, but definitely tried to sue Vince Russo. That's always a fun thing to go back and watch. If you've never watched that,
it's uncomfortable, but it's like even Hogan's like, "Fuck this place. Take your ball. I don't want it anymore."
One of my favorite things is when he says, "This is the reason the company's in the goddamn crapper."
Yep.
Or the goddamn shape it's in, or something like that.
Because of bullshit like this, and then he walks through the tunnel and throws the title.
Number 17, one of my favorite wrestlers from Ring of Honor, formerly Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens. Why was this impactful? Couple of reasons. This man was told when he signed with NXT by Vince and by Triple H, "This is as far as you're going, man. This is as far as you're going to go." And he said, "Okay, it's cool." They make him NXT champion within about 3 to 4 months, taking out Sami Zayn, his best friend.
Awesome.
His debut at NXT is still one of my favorite things. He gets a broken nose from CJ Parker, who's now Juice Robinson, then goes on and turns on Sami Zayn, who just beat Neville earlier for that title. But yeah, he's an NXT champion. And while he's an NXT champion, John Cena doing his U.S. Open Challenge. We've had a lot of great guys show up. We've seen the likes of guys like Sami Zayn, and he got to fight Cesaro, and I believe Cody was one of them at the time, or Stardust maybe. He had a great string of matches. Who shows up? Kevin freaking Owens with the NXT title. And I loved it because you're like, wow, this is the very first time I believe the NXT champion has debuted onto a main roster. And for a couple more months, he held on to the NXT title and did double shows. He did that and Raw. And, oh, man, he's still a big part of the show. As we just talked about, he threw freaking popcorn at someone to interfere in a match last night. But Kevin Owens is on that main roster. For a man that was told NXT is the furthest you'll ever go here. He's been on Raw. He's been on SmackDown. He's been a Universal Champion. He has also been
champion.
IC Champion.
U.S.
He's
Champion.
Been WrestleMania. Hey, totally happy with the career that Kevin Owens has. I think he still has some time left. I'd like to see some good things happen for him. I think they've dropped the ball on what could be such an amazing loose cannon type character. He always reminded me of Brian Pillman, but WWE made him too, I don't even know what you want to call it, whatever WWE made him.
Yeah, parody of himself.
Ooh, a parody
like
of
that.
himself. That's some deep shit. Deep thoughts with ODM.
Don't get used to it.
Number 16, the crossover that we didn't think would ever happen.
No shit.
Ever. At this point, in 2014, who the hell thought that anybody from WCW is now going to try and come to WWE? And that is when the Icon Sting finally shows up in WWE. He shows up Survivor Series, helping Dolph Ziggler pin Seth Rollins, who's down for 45 minutes. But he also takes out Triple H in the meantime, building towards WrestleMania 31. I think we're all still disappointed that we've never gotten Sting and Undertaker. How do you not do that in so many different ways by now? I mean, you had Undertaker and Shane McMahon at the following WrestleMania. Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into that. That may be next week when we start talking about missed opportunities. But it was a very huge moment. Doesn't matter what kind of fan you are, casual fan or longtime fan. You know Sting, and Sting is him showing up in WWE was huge. If you haven't had the opportunity, Tosh.0 did a great segment on it, but you gotta YouTube a video of a guy losing his fucking mind. And it's a video of him on the phone with someone. He's like, it's Sting! It's Sting! Oh my God, he's in WWE! Oh my God, he's beating up Triple H! Whoa! This guy is marking the fuck out. Whoever he's on the phone with, I don't even know. He called someone to tell him while he was watching the pay-per-view. It's the best thing ever. And Tosh.0 did one of his little segments about it. But I mean, deep down, I think that's what we all felt like. Sting, man. I mean, I know that's you. You said you've painted yourself like Sting for Halloween. I mean, Sting is one of your favorites of all time. Seeing him in WWE, iconic moment. And no pun intended, because he is the icon Sting. Awesome, awesome moment. Number 15. I'll let you talk about this because I'm not a fan of him right now.
Number 15 is Goldberg. Listen, as angry as we are, we still have to admit that he was a significant crossover at the time.
Nope, we don't.
Okay.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one. This is I'm
fine.
actually here's the deal. Does he deserve to be in the place he is on this list? Yeah. I think he did a good job on this list. I told you that. However, I don't think that he means a shit to me when he came over to WWE.
To
at
you.
that point, well, I think to maybe a lot. When he came over, there was no way that he was ever going to fit to the storyline type product that WWE produces. WCW, there was not much creative flow going on in the background, and his matches were 3 minutes at best because all he could do was a couple of moves.
Yeah, exactly.
I was never looking forward to him coming into WWE. When he came in, I will give you this, he had a good impact because he interrupted The Rock, right?
Yeah, right. Speared The Rock.
Yeah.
But still huge. Listen, I'm not here to... I get it. Yeah, I mean, yay, it's Goldberg, but it was still
I get it.
impact.
Okay, no, I get it. When you want to argue, it's cool. When I want to argue, I'm being a little diva. That's cool.
Bro! Number 14.
Anyway.
Guess number 14. Wow, that didn't work out as well as I thought it would.
It's number 14. John Cena. He debuts with Ruthless Aggression on the June 27th, 2002 SmackDown episode, as Kurt Angle is just begging for anybody to come out and test him. Who's got the nuts to come in the ring and get face-to-face with Kurt Angle? And out comes the prototype John Cena, because this is what he was all before this while in OVW. And this is the first time we ever see him, and then I think he sticks around for a couple of weeks or months with this good guy-ish gimmick, and then he quickly switches over to the Doctor of Thugonomics, and they are trying to make him a bad guy, and it is not working. The crowd is loving him. His raps got funnier and funnier each week. It's funny that as soon as they made him a world champ, that's when everybody was like, peace out, we don't care. Because then everything was just kind of repetitive with everything Cena did. But, to only be at number 14, to be honest with you, I mean, it's a pretty big debut for what he has done. And that was 2002. So we're talking 18 years ago. And in 18 years, the man is a 16-time world champion, a U.S. champion. He is a Royal Rumble winner. He's main evented so many WrestleManias. I mean, countless amount of accolades. I'm surprised he's actually only at number 14. So that means we got some really good debuts or crossovers that must have happened, of course, too. So tell me, who do we got at number 13?
Number 13, listen, not to say that it's not one of my favorites, but I know it's definitely
mine.
Yeah, one of your favorites. Yeah, it's the Radicals, man. That was a huge one because, listen, our number one on this list had happened before this by about a year, maybe half a year and a half. I don't know. That sucks. But this was still a huge one. And the Radicals, it was Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn for me. But still to see the four of them sitting ringside, it was a big deal. And
I remember switching back and forth, and I go, wait, what? Am I in the wrong channel?
Yeah, if not before that, this was, I think, the reason from, let's say, more of a talent that we want to see more of approach. This was the moment where it's like, I really don't need to switch the channels anymore, do I?
Right. I was only tuning into, I was still there for Bret Hart. No, I know, but I'm saying at this point, I mean, I was still, the only person I was really invested in WCW at this point, outside of those four guys and the Radicals, was Bret Hart. Everybody else I kind of gave up on. I didn't really care about. I was really a fan of Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. Perry Saturn, I actually liked him more when he was in the Eliminators with Cronus and ECW. I didn't really care for his whole, actually I didn't mind him in the Flock, actually, though, in WCW, so that wasn't bad either. But Dean Malenko, I mean, shit, he had so many great cruiserweight title matches. So I was excited to see all of them over there. Immediately, my head was spinning with all the different options of what could happen. It's funny because then you start to think about, first of all, Chris Benoit just won the world title and was a world champion when he walked over to this company, which is crazy to think that he did that. The amount of power that he probably could have had, and he said, that's how much I care about your company, that's how much I care about your title. I'm going to WWE. One of my favorite moments was only just a couple months prior to that was when Eddie Guerrero did the, hey, Eric, I'm pouring coffee on myself, and he threw water on himself, the whole thing, because he told Eddie that he was not going to amount to anything and threw coffee on him backstage, allegedly. And so Eddie made that a promo in the middle of the ring, came out with his bag, and was looking like he was quitting right on Nitro. Problem is, they said, yeah, go out, here's a mic, don't worry about scripting anything, go ahead, go, it's live TV. They made a lot of mistakes with that shit back in the day. But no, and you're talking about Eddie and Benoit, of course, had great careers coming over into WWE with their debut. Dean, was a light heavyweight champion. He did some work. Of course, he's a giant road agent that he was for WWE for quite some time. Now he's with AEW.
AEW, yep.
Yeah, and Perry Saturn, not so much. I know, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's had some health issues as of recent. But either way, 4 guys coming over from your biggest competition all at once, it rivals kind of one of our number 2 or number 3. When we talk about people jumping, that's a big moment for that many people to go at one moment. Only other person I would have liked to see in that group, but he came over too early, would have been Jericho. I think that he would have been a great part of that group because it's the same type of guys that were just being done wrong in WCW.
Let's be honest, Jericho was his own level. He didn't need...
I agree. I agree. But I'm just saying, could you imagine what that stable would have been like? Take out Perry Saturn, put in Jericho. That would have been fun.
Yeah, that might be the number 1 stable ever.
Right? That would have. Oh my God. Yeah. Let's not even get into hypotheticals because I could have fun with that.
No fantasy booking.
We should do that for an episode. Number 12. I debated about this debut when I read it. I go, it does make sense that he should be on here, but how impactful was his first night? And it really was. When someone comes out, the likes of Paul Heyman, and says, this is the next big thing. When Heyman talks, he doesn't lie. He actually, when he cuts promos, he's pretty honest, unless he's playing a character lying or something like that. But when he says something like, I guarantee this is the next biggest thing that you're going to be seeing, you should take that to the bank, and it sure was, because Brock Lesnar debuted in 2002 on Monday Night Raw. And, he ran through everybody from the Hardy Boys to Rob Van Dam, became a king of the ring, and then, let's see, he debuted in March. So we're talking the night after WrestleMania. That is, we're coming off fresh of Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania. And he debuts the next night. And by SummerSlam, he defeats The Rock to become WWE champion. Yeah, you got my vote. Absolutely. That's one of the best debuts of all time. To go that amount of time. Someone that didn't make the the list, and I think that he probably could or should have, is Sheamus. He came through just hurtling through everybody and then became a WWE champion by beating John Cena within about a 4 to 6 month period, I believe. Kind of the same way that Lesnar did, but no one did it the way Lesnar did. And to be honest with you, the career he had, of course, with this the list that we have going here for debuts and the impact that you have, Brock Lesnar, giant impact on the wrestling business. We all thought it was done by 2004. And you know what's crazy? When he came back in 2012, I was like, this part-timer. I will say, I think people should really start to call him a full part-timer or something like that, or a part-full-timer.
He's been at almost every Raw this year so far.
Yeah.
He's been there more often than he's not there.
I didn't expect him to be around for 8 straight years. I
didn't either.
And I'm finding more respect for him with it for that. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, he didn't come back just to take some paydays on pay-per-views. That's what we all thought it was going to be. And I have to be the champion. Well, whether he's a champion or not, and that's fine. But he's been here for 8 straight years. The Rock said, The Rock is home. In whatever year he came back, I think it was 2011, right? How home has he been? Lesnar came back, and he hasn't really left. I mean, he did a fight, right, in UFC, but he came right back to WWE and still was a champion. I mean, he's been nonstop. So I think he's having still a pretty good, decent run for his age and for where, and I'm not saying he's old, but I'm just saying for where he's at in life. I don't think he even needs financially to even be doing this. I don't think.
No, but I think, I mean, if we're going to get into that that's a whole different conversation. But
well, that's true.
But he has been putting in work lately, and listen, he's believable. He really is. Listen, man, you could make an argument, and I saw this. We'll talk about this offline. That's what they say at work, right? Offline. So anyway, Brock Lesnar, you can make an argument he's the greatest WWE champion ever.
I just read something that John Cena called him that, or said he was one of the greatest performers of all time, or something like that, too. So
basically what I heard was Cornette did a take based off of Cena's statement. It was in the drive-thru, and they said, do you really think that... And Cornette's like, listen, and he just broke it down step by step. But you can make that statement, I mean, from a certain perspective. But listen...
I mean, it's really how a character or a wrestler should be built.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's been an unstoppable beast. Yeah, no one has really fully stopped him properly. There's no other characters that are like that. You could have done it with Bray Wyatt. You could have done it with countless amount of wrestlers over the last several years, and you're not doing it. The only person you've really gone strong with is him. So, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree wholeheartedly on that one. The one side piece to this, did you hear Brock Lesnar after this past Monday when McIntyre laid him out with a boot? Even though he was knocked out, he still had time.
Pick up the belt.
Oh, but Lesnar doesn't have a deep voice. Pick up the belt! He has such a high-pitched voice sometimes. I love when he screams and it squeaks, but you hear him go, pick up the belt! And you bend down immediately to pick up the belt. I was like, but, he's trying to help him get over and stuff.
That's awesome, though. That's good.
That
just makes more of a... Okay, we went on a tangent with Brock.
No, that's okay, but actually, no. But to lead in or to end off with Brock, I'm going to say I'm excited about Lesnar and McIntyre. I think it's going to be a very hard-hitting match at WrestleMania. It should be a really good one. Number 11, we're talking about more recent history. This is not necessarily a crossover. Well, we'll call it a sport crossover.
Yeah.
But their WWE debut was at Royal Rumble in 2018. Rowdy Ronda Rousey. Joan Jett's bad reputation hits, and after Asuka just wins the Royal Rumble match, out comes Rousey to point at the WrestleMania sign, not once, not twice, but like 74 times. I love that you're just pointing at the camera right now. But that's a giant debut.
It is.
And,
it is.
For the time that she had in WWE, okay, so her first match was 3-4 months later at WrestleMania, tagging with Angle against Triple H and Stephanie, which people say is an extremely highly rated match for someone to have their very first wrestling match. And she really did have some pretty good matches. I can't say her acting or her mic work is my favorite stuff.
No, but she can go.
I'm
like
actually
Shayna.
missing her this time of year, to be honest with you. Right now, I was like, I really was kind of banking on her last year. I really liked her in the title picture or even just on TV at all. Because the other girls, I don't think can hack it as well, man, or have that strong of a presence the way that Rousey does. I was a big MMA fan of hers, UFC, but when she came over to WWE, it was exciting. My only gripe is I really wish they just went one-on-one. I still say it to this day. I really wish they went Lynch versus Rousey at Mania, but you needed Charlotte for that match.
Yeah, sure, I get it. And I think you're right, though. I mean, you look at it. What do we got? We got Lesnar. You got Rousey. You got Riddle. You got Baszler. That's just 4 off the top of my head. Lashley. They can all work. Oh, even Jake Hager.
Yeah.
They can all go.
Yeah, because they're real workers.
And they're real workers. And I think that brings, you got to learn both sides, right? If if you're an MMA fighter, Ken Shamrock, Steve Blackman, right? So
I love Steve Blackman.
Yeah, man.
I was a very, very big Blackman fan. And that's just it, is Rousey, even though She could take bumps harder and better than girls who have been on that roster for 8 to 10 years.
Because she knows
she was
how to
taking
take
better
a
bumps
real
in
bump.
match number. What's that?
Because she knows how to take bumps.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say
Involuntarily.
her very first bump was better than any bump I've ever seen any of the Bella twins ever take
Yep.
in combined years, ever. And that's not talking about the bedroom stuff with Daniel Bryan or John Cena. Boom. So let's talk about number 10. One of your favorite stables of all time, and pretty much one of. Did you say no?
No.
Oh, you went bottom.
Bottom.
Got it. All right. Hey,
Boom,
it took
boom.
me a moment. Well, you're supposed to go Sierra Hotel. Our promo does that anyway. But that's right. We're talking about the Shield. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. These guys show up at the 2012 Survivor Series, jumping Ryback and putting him through a table, helping John Cena secure his title, I'm sorry, not John Cena, my apologies, CM Punk, and what we all thought was about to be the new Dangerous Alliance or something, because you had Paul Heyman, who was with CM Punk, and all these new guys. It could have been something really cool, but, WWE. But this new crew came through and did something we had not seen in years, and I don't think we're going to see for quite some time. The way they did it. Undisputed Era, I think, could do a good second place when it comes to just coming in and taking names and winning titles. But the Shield, the way they did it, they took everybody out on the roster. They powerbombed everybody from John Cena to CM Punk to Vince McMahon to Big Show. Everybody. Didn't matter who you were. Undertaker. They powerbombed everybody through tables or through the mat. And their very first match, any of them on the roster, was 1 month later after their debut at TLC, taking on Ryback and Team Hell No. Their first match is a TLC match. That's how much confidence I think Triple H had in his guys that were just coming up from NXT, because Seth Rollins at this moment is the NXT champion. So, no one, I don't think, was expecting to see these three guys pop up on TV. Very impactful debut. I think number 10 is a very perfect number for them, considering who else is up next. Because speaking of the Shield, I would say the one that is a little more impactful, because that's a WWE grown. It's almost like NXT. That's a given. But you want to talk about one of the biggest crossovers that we've had? Well, it's the biggest crossover to happen in the last couple of years. At Double or Nothing 2019, after Chris Jericho has defeated Kenny Omega, out comes free agent Jon Moxley. And he not only takes out Jericho, but he also takes out Omega, beginning a feud with him. And we've talked about it, but I will love watching this part over and over. Him getting on the ropes, breathing it all in, taking it in, and going, motherfucker. That's a giant crossover.
I'm sorry. It's fresh, right? It's not even a year yet.
Yeah.
Not even a year yet. That, as a wrestling fan, all bullshit aside, that had to make you happy.
It was exciting.
Not just to see him. And Jericho's response, "What are you doing here?" Yep. And he just shrugs and boom, dirty deeds. And like you said, he steps over the rope and just take it in. It was like, yes, you're free. You're free. And he'll be a bigger draw than when he was the champion in the biggest promotion ever to exist.
Totally agree.
He's already more over in
totally
5-minute span. 5 minutes is all it took.
His WWE title reigns were shit to me. They were nothing. They might as well not have happened, and that's nothing against
Listen,
Ambrose.
I popped when he won it,
sure,
but nothing happened after that.
The only thing I remember about his title reign is with him winning the title, all three Shield members held the title on the same night.
That was all it was. That was cool. So I mean,
but that's all I'll remember it for. Right. But that's all I can remember it.
Yeah. Right. But now, and now he's the only second AEW champion.
And I'll say that, how do I want to say this? Man, I don't want to do a pun but it's kind of for real.
It's not beneath you.
No, it really was a shift. It was a paradigm shift as soon as he went over to AEW.
Yep,
it was a statement. It was, AEW's not fucking around. They just brought me over here. What is that telling you? I'm not fucking around anymore. I just said I'm done fucking around. I'm here to do what I want to do, and it's about my career. And he's doing it better than anybody, man, because he's doing that in Japan, so good for him.
Yeah. Well, hey, just real quick before we move on to the next one. Do you remember a while back? I'll dig up the audio sometime. I said, imagine at the end of a pay-per-view, Jon Moxley holding up the AEW Championship and the IWGP US Championship. Now, while he didn't have that title with him, he still is holding two of them. That's another prediction I've gotten right.
Did Jericho show up to Tokyo with the AEW title? I cannot remember.
I honestly don't remember.
Because I was going to say, if he did, then maybe Moxley would show up with it, and then, yes, hold both titles. That would be kind of cool. But, yeah, definitely a giant impact for Moxley to show up in AEW. It's, again, a giant shift. It's a move in the right direction to keep these wars going and have more options for these wrestlers out there. Number 8 is The Big Show. Now, we knew him as the Giant in WCW for many, many years on Nitro. And he was a former world champion in the NWO, part of many big storylines. And now he is coming into the WWE as he shows up at St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1999 in the main event match as Stone Cold Steve Austin is taking on the chairman, Mr. McMahon, in a steel cage match. And up comes Paul White, as they are referring to him as. They're not even saying The Big Show right now. They just keep saying it's Paul White. Paul White shows up from under the ring, picks up Stone Cold Steve Austin, goes to throw him against the steel cage, and Austin goes through the cage as it swings open, and he lands on the ground on the floor. Some have debated for years if that was planned as to how it was supposed to end, or if it was an accident that the cage broke open that way. But either way, it was a big moment for Big Show. In 1999, we're talking the very beginning of 99, the wars are still going, extremely fresh. I mean, WWE has only just won a couple of recent ratings wars when it comes to these episodes. So it was a very big moment for the Big Show to come over. And I think that it was the best move possible for him. I'm glad he didn't stay in WCW for that many years, because I don't think they would have known what to do with him. WWE, I think, did a great job. They built a monster, and they also built a man who can not only be face, but he could also be heel many times in the same night. Who else could really do that but the Big Show? But now we talk about number 7. Man, number 7, we talked about this guy earlier because he is the wrestler of the decade. AJ Styles with a giant crossover. It's one everybody wanted. It's one everybody hoped for when he became a free agent, leaving Impact or TNA or whatever you call that promotion. He went over to Ring of Honor, PWG. He went all the way over to Japan and became a 2-time IWGP heavyweight champion. AJ Styles, what's that?
No small task.
No small task at all. Facing the likes of Okada, Naito, Nakamura while he was over there. That's where their infamous match happened that WWE tried to recreate at WrestleMania. Which, you know what? I urge you to go back and just rewatch that match as a person who, if you really, really pretended like they never met before, it's not a bad match. It's really not. I think everybody just had higher hopes because they just wanted Nakamura to win. If Nakamura won, it was a 5-star classic. But because he didn't win, people...
but
I'm telling you, that's what it would have happened. I'm promising you.
Okay.
Hey, you're saying that's not what would have happened. Okay.
I didn't
what did
say
I just...
it wasn't going to happen.
Hang on. I'm going to time out on this top topic for a moment. I texted you the other day because it pissed me off so bad while I was watching Dynamite that JR goes, in probably one of the greatest tag team matches I ever saw this past weekend at Revolution. Young Bucks versus Page and Omega, he is saying is one of the best tag team matches he's ever seen. And then they show a package about this, and Dave Meltzer says it is absolutely, arguably, the greatest tag team match to ever happen in the U.S. feel like I've used the F word way too many times today to really say fuck you, Dave Meltzer, but Jesus. No way was Young Bucks and Page and Omega the best match that ever happened tag team wise in the U.S. I could already think of a couple just NXT before I even have to go back to the 80s.
Yeah, I don't think it was the best ever. I think it was fantastic. I really dug it, but best? No.
Yeah.
But
that's why I say it would have been a star.
Guys,
it would have been the 5-star classic if Nakamura won, because Meltzer loves his Japan guys. He loves his elite boys because it's Uncle Dave. It's weird, but AJ Styles shows up at the Royal Rumble, number 3, the number 3 entrant, and Roman Reigns had just tossed out, I want to say, Rusev, and the music hits. What? No one had a clue what it was. We all had been anticipating it was possibly him. And out comes AJ Styles to one of the biggest pops.
It's huge.
In Royal Rumble history, probably in WWE history, just overall. It's funny because WWE does not acknowledge any company ever. But yet Michael Cole knows who this guy is. Is it him? Is it him? Well, is it who? Because you guys don't know what the other companies are. It's just you.
Fish and O'Reilly and Cole.
Yeah, exactly. No, but man, AJ Styles showing up was a giant moment for... I think it opened the doors for a lot of the other guys to come in just right after, because that's when you started to see Cole, O'Reilly, Fish, and all these other guys come in. They really started bringing a lot more of the independent guys. And they really started with AJ Styles. And now they finally have him together with the OC, which should have been done a long time ago. But I think they should have had Baylor with them by now, and they should have been wrecking everyone on any show you want to have. Drop ball. Can't wait to talk about that next week.
Yeah. Yeah, no shit. That might be number 1. Fuck.
You know, you talk about a drop ball. Number 6, Lex Luger. SummerSlam 93. The man wins by a freaking count out, and they celebrate it like he just won the world championship off of Bruno Sammartino and broke that streak. So Lex Luger really didn't have a great WWE career by any means. Probably the most notable thing would be the Royal Rumble was a positive, winning that with Bret Hart. I don't count the SummerSlam win as a positive. Maybe we'll call Alex Express a positive because you got to hear that really awesome Aaron Neville song. I'll be your hero. I'll sing that again at the end of the show for everybody. But a very pivotal moment was when WCW decides to have Nitro appear on TNT. First time any show is going to rival Raw, not only wrestling company-wise on cable on primetime, but on the same night, same time. And Lex Luger shows up on the very first episode, which was in a mall. Always loved that the very first episode of that was in a mall. Because right now... Oh, go ahead.
I was say that episode started with Brian Pillman versus Jushin Thunder Liger, so...
In a mall. But I want to say this right now, that if AEW's very first show was in a mall, everybody would have lost their fucking minds and said it's the stupidest thing ever. But because it was WCW, it was cool.
Well, malls were cool back then. Malls aren't really... Are malls cool now?
I don't know. Amazon.com is my mall.
Well, there you go.
I'm a Prime guy. So,
yeah,
boom. But Lex Luger shows up on Nitro and kind of starts to feud with some of the guys that are right there, especially Hulk Hogan. And this is big because he was just at a WWE live event the night before.
He had a great shirt on, too.
Yeah. Well, wait. What did it say?
No, it was that white frilly, almost like the pirate shirt from Seinfeld.
Oh, I thought you meant the night before when he left. I thought he had a great shirt on the night before.
Sorry.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. You look like you took that from the Pirates of the Caribbean. You're absolutely right. I love that shirt. I have the same one in blue. You want to talk about one of the greatest of all times making a crossover. I never saw this coming because I only saw him on WCW Saturday nights when I was a kid. I never expected to see Ric Flair. That's the guy from the other promotion.
That's the guy.
Right, the guy from the other promotion. And he shows up with the biggest 4-foot championship belt you've ever seen, right? Because that's nothing. Or I mean, the WWE Championship is nothing compared to this thing. And he shows up with the real World's Championship, and he's with Bobby. Yep, and he's with Bobby the Brain Heenan. And this is on, was this Primetime Wrestling?
Yep.
Which is pre-recorded, which is even bigger, because that just shows you back in the day, you could not do that as a pre-recorded segment right now on any of the shows anywhere.
It would never make it, yeah.
No. You can't pre-record even for an hour ahead of time without it making somewhere. So yeah, this is on Primetime Wrestling, and this is a huge moment, because are we going to finally get to see Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair take on each other, maybe combine the titles? Holy shit. No, that's not what
yeah, no, we didn't know. No.
Because when WrestleMania comes around, when you're thinking you're going to get what you want, WWE first announces Ric Flair and Hogan in a bunch of different ways, but then I think live on TV, it was actually not live, but at least a segment, it was announced that would be that way. But then with the whole world title situation, especially after Ric Flair won the title at the Royal Rumble in 1992, all of a sudden President Jack Tunney says Ric Flair will be defending his title against Randy Savage, and Hogan will be taking on Sid Justice.
Because that makes sense.
Hogan marked like it was all he wanted was that. I was like, shouldn't you want to face the champion? This is weird. Even worse is that they put that match on last. That will always haunt me until I die, that I watched WrestleMania 8 close that way, because two of my favorite matches happened at WrestleMania 8. All-time WrestleMania matches for me are Piper and Hart and Savage and Flair. Neither of them were towards the end of the night. The end of the night was Hogan and Sid, and then Papa Shango messing up the ending, and then...
Oh, my God, that's right.
Yup, and then Ultimate Warrior showing up, and is it the real one? Is it not? I heard he was dead. It was all that weird stuff. It was just a weird ending to WrestleMania. I was not a fan of it.
It was different times back then.
It was, but man, come on. How could you not... Do you know the amount of money that you could have made by making Hogan and Flair? Knowing that Hogan's going to be leaving you soon.
Bro, Vince, listen, back then you didn't get it. I didn't get it. Nobody got it. But nowadays, looking back, it's Vince. There's nothing to understand other than it's Vince. That's the easy answer.
And then WWE or WCW goes, we'll do it. Bash at the beach. We'll make it all about sand and water and sharks. This will be fun. We'll do it this way.
I'm not
we'll get
putting them over, brother.
Yeah, and Shaquille O'Neal was involved with it. It was horrible. WWE made a very bad decision on that one. It's a good thing next week is only of the last decade, because that's a big one that would have been a missed opportunity that we could talk about. We talked about, why the title, or we knew that the title was up for grabs at that 92 Royal Rumble, and it all began at the Survivor Series just a mere couple of months before that, where The Undertaker defeated Hulk Hogan. 1 year prior to that was the debut of the Phenom, The Undertaker, and that comes in at number 4 because, come on, man, who else comes in and destroys that many people in one night, but also goes on a giant undefeated streak, wins the World Championship by beating Hulk Hogan, whether clean or not, I don't care. Hulk Hogan didn't really put his shoulders down for many people, and the guy just never has been in a bad position really in WWE. I don't think that even when he got paired up with someone like Nathan Jones, or he had to deal with the Maven situation or anything like that, there's no way that they propose it and he was like, yeah, I love it. Or whether if he didn't like it, there's no way that he would have went through with it, is my point. I think The Undertaker is his own man. Him and Vince have a very special relationship, so if he wanted to say no, he could. So that being said, he's really never been booked in a bad way. Some of my favorite times of him, actually, I always say I don't like a lot of things about the Attitude Era, but I really do like some certain things. And honestly, one of my favorite times was SummerSlam 98, that Highway to Hell, him and Stone Cold Steve Austin, just before before Undertaker turns heel and begins the Ministry of Darkness. I mean, this is a man that has reinvented just a dead man character multiple times, did some biker stuff for a little bit and beat some ass, came back as another dead man, and we all believed it. And again, no one even questioned the fact that he was a real man again and then dead again. because, fucking wrestling. I mean, come on. How could he not be at number 4 for an impactful debut? I mean, you said it. I didn't know who he was, man. I didn't know who Mean Mark was in WCW. So for him to show up in WWE, that is kind of a crossover, would you say, in a small way?
It is. It's both because not the risk of beating a dead horse. I mean, to me, that was a big moment. I think that's one of the reasons I'm such a huge Undertaker mark, is because I did see him and I was like, wow, look at this guy. So at that time to see somebody do that, that was a debut for most people. That was a debut for 99% of people. For me, that was a crossover. It's like, wait a minute. That's that guy from over there. Wait. And, I mean, what was it? It was Dusty Rhodes, Coco Beware, and the Hart Foundation.
Yep.
Jim Neidhart and Bret Hart. He ended up getting counted out, which I never really understand, because $1 Million Man ended up winning anyway. So why not just have Undertaker?
Because this night, oh Jesus!
Oh,
it was the gobbledygooker, and the winners went on to the final.
And then it was the one where all the remaining people from each team, heel and face,
went on.
End.
And I think that if they did that and they needed Hogan to win, there's no way you put Taker in there. And you could have made him go into the finals, but I think all they needed to do was just get him counted out in his first match, made enough of an impact for the night.
He took out Anvil.
I think 3 of the guys.
And he took everybody except Bret.
Yes. Again, very, very impactful debut. And much like his brother, his kayfabe brother. That's right. We're talking at number 3. I mean, I think this is an even bigger debut. We're talking about Kane. We're talking about Kane at Bad Blood 97. Why is it bigger than The Undertaker's? Because Undertaker's had a bigger career, right? But we're talking about the debut, the impact, the moment of it, the shock.
And Undertaker was involved.
Undertaker definitely was involved. I mean, the intention for Shockmaster must have been pretty fucking cool. But if Kane came to the cage and just wrestled with it and couldn't get the door open, and then a ref opened it with a key, he was not the big red machine. He would have been dead right there on the spot, right? It's how it was made. Kane came out, ripped that fucking thing off of the hinges, went in, and tombstone Undertaker after standing face to face with him in that red light for Shawn Michaels to win a match that everybody thought was deadlocked, that Taker was going to win. And the winner of this was going on to face Bret Hart at Survivor Series. So I think everybody thought, okay, we're probably going to get Taker and Bret Hart, which is a return match from SummerSlam just a couple months before.
Right.
And Kane comes in. I mean, Paul Bearer had been saying, your brother's alive, Kane's alive, he's coming. I didn't think he was going to show up at Bad Blood 97. Bad Blood is such an up and down for me. It was the debut of the first Hell in a Cell, the debut of Kane. But it's also the night that we found out that Brian Pillman passed away. And that's always just there. I always remember it because his feud was still going to continue with Goldust. And I remember just watching that pay-per-view, and it just kind of, like, for several matches, it took me out of the pay-per-view because you're like, I just saw this guy on TV like 5 days ago. This doesn't make sense. 5-6 days ago. So it's kind of an up and down pay-per-view when I do get a chance to watch that, because it's just, I was a very big Flying Brian fan, man. That's the original cruiserweight for me. Before Rey Mysterio, Jushin Thunder, and all those other guys, I mean, that I started to grow onto and I started to, pay attention to him. Flying Brian was my favorite when I was a kid. Him with Hollywood Blondes, when I did get a chance to catch some of that.
Hollywood Blondes were great.
Yeah, the Saturday night's main event or whatever it was on. The camera rolls that they were doing, they were the best. Colonel Parker was with them, right?
Yeah,
that's right. But I got sidetracked there with Brian Pillman. But again, that was a very, very big night with Bad Blood 97. Kane coming in, it just kickstarts WrestleMania 14. He becomes a champion actually in less than 1 year's time. He became a world champion at King of the Ring 1998. So debuts in October at Bad Blood and becomes world champion in a First Blood match against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah, he lost the title a night later, But either way, he became a world champion pretty quick. But that man was in everything. Another man that was always booked pretty decently. I was never really a fan of the Authority Kane. But I've always loved his feuds. He's always been just a good human wrecking machine, right? He's a badass dude. He's changed his look and good longevity. The man's a freaking mayor.
Yeah.
How come they don't have him come wrestle as Mayor Kane? That's what they need.
Conflict
Probably
of
things
interest?
I was gonna say, like I don't doubt him coming and doing a wrestling thing, but they probably, for namesake, probably can't do it.
Yeah, maybe.
Political Kane. You had Authority Kane, now you have Political Kane. I actually thought it was all over after Jesse the Body Ventura, and now Kane does it. But I still remember when Hulk Hogan on Nitro said he was going to run for president. That one still had me. I was like, part of me was like, is this real? Like, is he really going to do this?
You got me either way, man.
This is one we went back and forth with. Number 2. We didn't know how we wanted to rank this.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Does each guy get their own debut? We're giving them a tie because one kind of follows the other pretty quick. We're talking about the time in 1996, June of 96. Well, back up a little bit. In May of 96,
right.
Scott Hall shows up in the crowd on WCW Monday Nitro. We know who he was. It was Rey Mysterio. It was Razor Ramon, and it's funny
but
because
you didn't know why he was there.
You didn't know why he was there, and it's where I don't think he said it. It was the following week or two later when he brought Big Sexy Kevin Nash, and Nash said, "This is where the big boys play, huh? We're not here to play." And everybody thought, not everybody. I don't know how or what everybody's thought process was at this time, but this is dial-up AOL. You need discs that have 40,000 hours on it that you could go do, get on and do whatever. So them showing up on this show is completely unheard of. Is Vince sending his guys over to really fuck with this show? But then you're like, well, wait, that can't be possible because why would they allow it? And you start to understand, okay, they work for the company, but it's still weird because they're taking guys out and they're doing all these weird backstage things. One of the craziest ones is that whole backstage brawl where they throw Rey Mysterio like a lawn dart right up against that trailer. They're beating everybody with bats.
That's the one where I think residents in the area started calling the police.
Yeah,
how
was
great
so
is
awesome.
That? And you want to talk about marks again? Yes, police department. It looks like some men in masks are getting beat up by some really large men.
One's wearing a little Mexican mask. I think he just beat up a kid. I think people are beating kids out here. But they played it really well, man. Because you had the Four Horsemen, everybody was coming together. Yeah, all bad guys and good guys are teaming up against NWO. It was really unheard of. And again, like you said, is Vince sending his guys over to ruin the company? It was really cool stuff.
Right, and you got to think, everybody at the time is thinking it's Razor Ramon and Diesel, but it's not. It's Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. That just added to it, because now I'm even more confused, because they can't be still working for them, because if they were, they would call themselves Razor Ramon and Diesel. But why are they going after everybody? It just added to the mystique, and given it at the time, and even where it went from there, it had some longevity to it. It had it was Click Part 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny because for me, I was a WCW watcher. I was a WWE fan. So I was going to be hooked on Raw every time. Superstars, Mania, Primetime, Wrestling Challenge. Those were my shows. WCW I caught when I could. So I didn't know character development, but I could tell you who everybody was. So when Mark Marrow was in WWE, I was like, oh, it's the old Johnny B. Bad. I could tell you who guys were. Same with Steve Austin when he came over. That was one of those guys. But once I saw two guys that now I thought were homegrown until I realized that they'd already done time in WCW.
Yeah, exactly.
But you look at it this way, you're like, wow, this is interesting. And that to me was the original, for me, start of Monday Night Wars. I don't think they actually really began in 95. I think it was just another wrestling show that was out there, but the rivalry of obviously one set of guys showing up from the other show, and I think everybody was thinking possibly, I mean, I know that they were hinting it could be Sting or someone else who was going to be the third man before Hogan was ever named, but my mind was going, shit, is it Shawn Michaels? Is it...
yeah, right.
I was thinking of all these guys that were on the WWE roster. I'm like, who hasn't been on TV in a while? That's where my mind was going. I was kind of hoping they actually went like that because that would have been even better. But, I mean, we got what we got, and obviously it was huge, and probably the biggest thing to ever happen in pro wrestling was that. One of the biggest moments that ever happened in pro wrestling was Hogan turning heel and forming the NWO right there on the spot at Bash at the Beach. And everybody taking so many cups of drinks to the head.
Yeah, Mean Gene telling the story is great.
Oh my God, I couldn't be in that moment if you paid me, man. That's sick. And then they did it round 2, Monday Nitro. One night later, they come out and do the same thing, or maybe they held off 1 week, and I think it was the next week that Hogan came out, I think. But they filled the ring with trash again. I was like, this is not a good norm to set. Like, this is going to start happening all the time now. Right. This is not what you want to do. But number 1, here we are at number 1. We talked about some great debuts, but this is the biggest crossover. You've gotten to describe this one before, so I'm going to give my little description on this one. We have been getting for weeks, man, maybe even months, the Millennium Countdown Clock. And everybody knew it's 1999. Yeah, when 99's over, it's the new millennium, right? But when you saw the clock at first, it just had so many hours on it. I think a lot of people just really weren't paying attention. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. I don't know. But I think when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, whatever. Millennium's coming soon. I almost didn't even think it was a WWE commercial or a promo, because sometimes they lead them into the real commercials that were on USA Network. Right. And the Millennium Clock starts to get closer each time you're watching. You're like, wait. This seems like that's getting closer. Oh, wait, that's not in New Year's. Wait, that's even sooner. In August 9th, it finally clicks 0 as The Rock is in the ring giving a promo, and out comes Y2J, Chris Jericho. He's the Millennium Man, as they're basically calling him at this point, if I'm not mistaken. And it is officially the first time we hear Raw is Jericho. And my only gripe with this is I think that The Rock beat him up too much on his first night. But he's a heel, so you have to do that, and that's okay. I just wish he had a little more of an upper hand. Because I think Rock made him look kind of foolish on the mic, but he did get out there and...
don't you ever insult Chris Jericho.
We got to go really soon, everybody. I just watched ODM give himself a concussion by slapping himself across the face. But there's no better crossover or debut than that. I mean, there were signs in the crowd that night that said Jericho because people were ready for it. They figured out that clock, and we haven't seen him on Nitro. And again, now we're here in '99. The internets, they're getting a little bit better to deal with. So you could you didn't have to necessarily deal with all those AOL discs. You could at least have the dial-up.
I think you were still pretty close. But... so here's the thing, man. Watching Jericho and WCW and getting that payoff of just, it was great.
You made it factor.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier when we first started that, flipping back and forth between the channels. Growing up in the same area, I'm guessing you had the same thing. It was 32 and 33. Up and down.
That was 32 and 33.
Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So, saw a lot of Jericho. Loved him. Jericho personal security. Mm-hmm. The whole, if WCW just saying, here, fine, go. Here's 5 minutes, go. Don't go over. It gave us Jericho. Because Jericho
that's how we learned of who he is.
Jericho
yeah, absolutely.
Took that and said, fuck it, I'm going. And it worked for him. So to see him and then to see him show up, goddamn. And again, not to take away from Jericho because, he's my number 2 all time. Rock's line that night, it doesn't matter which, like, it was the two of them together. It was something special because at that point, The Rock was great. He was in the silk shirt wearing phase of his career. And for me personally, I had seen Jericho enough to know that he was the man. So to see him there,
same here, absolutely.
It's and the pop, it's up there. It's got to be top 5 pops all time.
Becomes a world champion within 2 years. First undisputed champion. His biggest feud that leads to that is with the man that he interrupts the promo with, The Rock. That's how he leads into becoming a world champion. Of course, beating Rock and Stone Cold in the same night, but he also took the WCW title from Rock, and they feuded over it before that even happened.
Yep.
Made him a made man, and then from there he got to move on and have some tremendous matches. And, of course, we've said it, the man keeps reinventing himself. We can't call it a debut or a crossover in AEW because before AEW actually fully officially launched, they were naming their wrestlers, and he was a part of it. He was a part of that big press conference. Can't count him there like we did Moxley. But, again, it was number 2 and number 3 rival each other. You know what I mean? Outsiders. And then Chris Jericho. Which one was a bigger impact when it comes to a crossover or debut into the other company? I think Jericho heading over there wasn't the final driving nail in the coffin. I think you were tapping it in. You made the whole set. The nail was stiff and ready to go. When the Radicals jumped, it went fully through the board.
Yep.
It was the one.
Listen, if you were to sit here and argue with me and say you wanted to flip-flop number 1 and number 2, maybe even 1, 2, and 3, that's fine.
All of them were we even said that. We're like, man, any one of them could go there. But Jericho just kept jumping in my mind. Every outlet we looked on that we were trying to do our research, I know that, I did some research ahead of time before getting sick, and Jericho was popping up everywhere. It's the biggest jump of all time.
Yeah, and again, for me, it's personal because of the 3. Jericho's the one that I saw happen, and I knew Jericho before he showed up. So for Jericho, I was invested already, and I saw it happen. So
I had friends in school who were a little more connected to the wrestling sheets. My one buddy, Newbie, he's unfortunately no longer with us, but I remember him saying, "Watch Raw tonight, Chris Jericho showing up." What? You watch, man. And I remember him telling me, and I remember watching it, man. And, that's springtime, that's summertime. So you're going to take away from, I just remember him telling me you're going to want to watch that, man. And sure enough, he shows up. And again, even though I had a feeling he was going to show up, it was still an awesome promo. I think I'm going to go watch that after this. Yeah. If we're talking about debuts and crossovers, I'm going to have to watch that. The professor's suggested match of the week has to do with debuts. I was trying to figure out, if we're going to talk that Jericho was number 1, what was his first match? And it's nothing to write home about, I wanted something that when you're talking about a debut, you made an impact, not only in the day of your debut, but what you followed up with. I'm not going to make you watch a whole Survivor Series match with The Undertaker either, because I think that you get the idea of where Undertaker was going with it. But the very first match, and I already mentioned this earlier when we talked about our number 10 in The Shield. The Shield, at the 2012 TLC pay-per-view, their very first match in WWE, not even just as a team, singles, anything at all, is a tables, ladders, and chairs match against Ryback and Team Hell No. This match was put in place because it was supposed to be Ryback versus Punk, before Punk needed some time off because he was hurt. And then they got inserted into this match, and it was a 6-man, the first time ever that not only it was a 6-man tag team match, but it was ending by pinfall or submission. No one needed to grab anything off of the top of, or right in the middle of the ring using the ladder. This was just a weapons match. This match showcased not only just how good the Shield were, but it shows how awesome they were going to be, because when you watch them, you're like, God, they're not even fully as polished and awesome as they are now. But back then, they were some great risk takers. This match is a great way to end that TLC pay-per-view. Definitely check that one out if you haven't. I'm sure Again, if you're listening to this, you probably have caught that one before. What's coming up? Well, in the next couple of weeks here, man, we're gearing in, man. WrestleMania season is here. It is upon us. We had our final pay-per-view with Elimination Chamber. We're mere weeks away from WrestleMania, so we're starting to get ourselves ready for that. Next week, we're going to go with a nice depressing episode. We're going to talk about missed opportunities over the last decade. 10 missed opportunities. And I'm sure there's a lot that are probably swarming around your head right now. Anything from the past couple of Royal Rumbles to guys that have been let down when they come up from NXT. A lot of things we could talk about, but we're only going to talk about 10. 2 weeks from today, we are going to be talking on March 25th, this is your request, ODM, the top 25 matches of NXT so far. We just reached the 5th anniversary, I believe it was. Yes, 5th anniversary of NXT. Is that wrong?
Is that the right number? Like it'd be longer than that.
Well, maybe 10. Oh, no, it's 10 years. I'm sorry. It was 10 years of NXT because that's when the Nexus and everything got going. I was thinking of good NXT TV. But 10 years of NXT. And next week, we're going to talk the top 25 matches. Or I'm sorry, in 2 weeks, we're going to talk top 25 matches. Man, that's going to be a tough one, man. We may end up doing like top 100 matches. There's so many.
No,
good
we're
ones.
not. No, we're not. No. We might have to do a different format or something.
That's true. We'll just start naming them as many as we can. Oh, how about this one? And that one. Ooh, this one. But we have 3 weeks from today will be our go-home show before heading into WrestleMania. And what are we going to talk about that day? We're going to talk about the top 10 WrestleMania events. We've had 35 before we head into that Sunday's pay-per-view. There's been some really good ones, and then there's been some bad ones. We know WrestleMania 9 is not going to be in our top 10 WrestleManias of all time.
No.
So at least you can focus on that, that we're not going to have to go too in-depth for that. And then 4 weeks from today, we're going to talk about just the best of, the top of WrestleMania weekend. Because, of course, you got WrestleMania, but you're also going to have TakeOver. You're going to have Ring of Honor. You're going to have New Japan. All the festivities of all the different promotions that will be down in the Tampa area. So we'll be discussing all the good and bad from that weekend as well. But again, next week we will be talking about the top 10 missed opportunities of the last decade. So from 2010 to 2020, what has been missed? We're not just talking about WWE. Other promotions have missed some great opportunities. Think about where Impact was and think about where they're at now. Same with Ring of Honor. A lot of things to think about. So keep thinking, and of course, as always, please keep sending in those comments, sending in those emails. Thank you again for listening to us, whether it be on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music. Maybe you're checking us out on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Hey, you know what? Maybe your internet is slow and you're doing it on a dial-up. I don't care. Either way, you're listening to us. Today has been a great episode. We hit a freaking David Arquette hat trick nice and early in the show. And a lot of great things to come. So we appreciate you guys listening every week here with the Top of Wrestling podcast. My name is Professor Rex Youngblood. Once again, I do bid you a farewell. And this week, ODM is going to leave us all with 14 words.
Shayna Baszler is going to get painted into the same corner as Bray Wyatt.
This difference helps me cross the line every time I'm confronted. I'm